have no idea.
I have
Yeah,
no
my
idea.
guess, my guess is
What
he
would you guess?
started. He probably was some, depending on the number of years, he's probably
talking
thing with
about
Twitch.
moving your thumbs around compared to,
No, but same thing with
world-class athletes.
Well, it's here's where I would push back. If you get into, I understand the idea of world-class athletes, but there are world-class gamers. And there is an entire Overwatch league that is global. And guess what? And the NFL would kill to be able to have a global league.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
And Overwatch League is solid. I actually, I have to admit, I watched
I
part
want
of
to
it.
apologize for taking us down this rabbit hole. I just thought that the $1 million lawsuit against a gamer in Colorado by Nintendo.
Well, that was good information.
And I really appreciate both of you letting my geek flag fly.
I loved it.
I apologize again to Chaim Goldberg, who's
today.
been very patiently waiting on the phone.
And he's like, I got up early for this.
I know, right?
I am so tired. I'm having to listen.
All right, wrap it up for us.
I always learn something. Thank God. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954 online at lairfireplacepatio.com, 27 in Lafayette, 29 in Aurora, 30 in Denver. Jeff and Billy and the internet video game show continues on Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live from Israel is Chaim Goldberg. He's a rabbi and journalist there. Yesterday, big announcement coming from President Donald J. Trump. I'm pleased to announce that the highly respected former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, has been nominated to be the United States ambassador to Israel. Mike has been a great public servant, governor, and leader in faith for many years. He loves Israel, the people of Israel, and likewise, the people of Israel love him. Michael worked tirelessly to bring about peace in the Middle East. So, joining us to give us some perspective, Chaim Goldberg. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, morning.
Hello, good morning to you.
So,
I'll
give us a sense of how the people of Israel responded to this announcement.
let me just back up a second. I'll just give you a window into Israel since Trump's victory. There's banners all over Jerusalem and Tel Aviv with these, picture of Trump and saying, "Congratulations, Trump, make Israel great."
Wow. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. So,
as for Mike Huckabee, I mean, look, I'll tell you, he's very connected to the land of Israel. I think Israelis are by and large very pleased with the announcement. He's himself, said how he visited Israel over 50 years ago for the first time and has brought, thousands of people over the years. But I'll share with you something that I'm sure your listeners don't know. I actually have a cousin who founded an organization called My Tree. The idea is that you adopt a portion of an Israeli olive grove or a vineyard, and you get an annual shipment of your oil, your wine from the Israeli farmers, personalized with your name on the bottle. And why am I telling you all this? Because Mike and Janet Huckabee were among the early investors in this idea. So,
Wow.
He's connected in word and in deed.
Wow. But not a Jew. Mike Huckabee, an evangelical. Tell us a little bit about how Jews in Israel may be looking at the fact that the lead representative from America is not Jewish, but an evangelical.
First of all, it's the last decade, I think, or so. It has been a Jewish person in the ambassador role. But looking back historically, there's definitely been many ambassadors that were not Jewish. The alliance, the Judeo-Christian alliance is thank God is strong. I mean, there's so many shared values. I mean, I can just share my personal experience. I was there with you, Jeff, in the dinner that run by Colorado Christian University last December. It was a very, very special evening, very emotional for me as well. And, we're here on the front lines of Western civilization fighting these wars against Iran and all of its proxies. And there's so much support from the Christian community in America, and Israelis know that, and they appreciate that. And there's so much that can be accomplished in the next 4 years.
Very happy to hear that. We're talking with Chaim Goldberg. He's a rabbi and journalist live from Israel, getting reaction on the appointment by Donald J. Trump of Mike Huckabee as the ambassador to Israel. And Chaim, you summarized it perfectly, that this is an alliance built around the success of Western civilization. And I think Christians miss this oftentimes, that we would not have Western civilization if it were not for the Jewish people. When you look at the transformation and the transmission of law and what Moses was able to do, the writing down of law, the respecting of law, the idea that there is a God that is active and governs in the affairs of man, and that there are universal right and wrong, that we enjoy the freedoms that we do because of the Jewish people and what they were able to do getting out of Egypt. This great history, this great tradition, we would not have Western civilization if it were not for the Jewish people. And so when you defend your Jewish friends, you're not just defending them against this kind of notion of anti-Semitism or whatever you might see out there on these college campuses. You're actually defending the very freedoms that we enjoy here and the people that have helped us achieve those. And so that partnership between Christians and Jews is very, very important for the health of our society and for Western civilization as well. I want to talk a little bit, Chaim Goldberg, about what Jews may be seeing happening in Europe right now. We saw this past weekend this effort to, quote, hunt the Jews that was taking place in Amsterdam. Can you give us some insight into how Jewish people are experiencing anti-Semitism in Western Europe right now?
Well, I think one of the patterns of history that we're seeing, repeat itself right now, and that we've seen, for really a while now. But when you have radical Islam, and that's different than Islam. There are many Muslims out there, I can assure you, that that support Israel and are against Iran. There's obviously Sunni Shiite divide and everything. But radical Islam, which only sees one vision for the world, and if people don't adhere to that vision, they deserve to be cut down. That is a dangerous ideology, and it's dangerous for everybody. Wherever, and it is going back to Israel, moving back from Europe, but where Israel has control, the Christian Arabs have flourished. Once Israel relinquished control to the Palestinian Authority, which essentially meant Hamas, Christian Arabs have floundered. There's no diversity under this radical ideology of radical Islam, and in Europe you're seeing that the more that radical Islam is taking over Europe. So it's going to bring a lot of violence in its wake.
Well, and it's
And
civilizational.
it's not just going to be against the Jews. It's not just going to be against the Jews. No, there were 6 million Jews killed in the Holocaust. There was many more millions killed that were not Jewish.
Well, to your point, Chaim Goldberg, it's civilizational decline. It is literally they are harming themselves, and this should be a big red flag to anybody. If you watch Jews leaving your country because they don't have freedom, these great folks that have contributed to the formation of Western civilization, that build strong families, that build great businesses, invest in universities, create the arts, who create these great communities and cultures. If you watch them flee your community, that should be a giant red flag that you're not doing something right and you need to fix it. And to watch not only Western Europe, but America's college campuses create such hostile places to where our Jewish friends do not believe that they can feel safe, can live there. They are contributing to their own crumbling and decline. And it just strikes me as crazy. It just strikes me as crazy. Talking to Chaim Goldberg, rabbi and journalist, live from Israel. Mike Huckabee appointed to become the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. I want to talk about how you believe Mike Huckabee, President Trump are going to help end the conflicts both with Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran.
Well, look, I mean, if they're able to build on the Abraham Accords, that will be tremendous. I'll just mention also for Colorado listeners, a native Denverite, Rabbi Ari Lightstone, was actually one of the key players in making the Abraham Accords happen. A peace between Israel and 4 Arab countries. He was right there on the front lines, shuttled diplomacy with Bahrain and UAE, and if there can be more peace with other Arab countries, that is the last thing that Iran wants to see. And for 50 years, the U.S. State Department was not able to achieve peace, and Donald Trump, in an unconventional way, was able to achieve peace. And if Mike Huckabee could come in and build on that, that will be good for Muslims, Christians, Jews all across the Middle East. With Iran and the current wars in Gaza and Lebanon, if as I quote, actually, I was on your show a few weeks ago. Richie Torres has said their peace comes through strength, and I think Donald Trump recognizes that. There is a bit of a tension now between America first, versus global intervention. And for sure, America has the right to demand bidirectional support from its allies, and to prioritize. America should prioritize itself, but part of prioritizing ourselves in America is recognizing, that there are enemies across the world, and if we don't take care of Iran, it will come after us sooner or later. U.S. didn't want involvement in World War II, but it caught up with us at Pearl Harbor. So if we take care of Iran, that will be. I think we all know what a tremendous accomplishment that will be for the good of civilization.
Now, Chaim Goldberg joining Jeff and Bill live from Israel, rabbi and journalist. I want to kind of dovetail off that conversation there, talking about Iran. Let's just for the conversation today, let's assume that Iran wants to escalate the conflict directly with Israel. They start firing more missiles, and they start doing some military posturing as if something is going to happen. Now, the question I have is, what response do you think we should expect from the U.S.? And the reason I ask this is Huckabee, Donald Trump, big supporter of Israel, but also part of what Donald Trump wants is to pull up the drawbridges and be more isolationist. He doesn't want to get involved in international conflicts. He doesn't want to send American troops and money and weaponry around the world to fight wars. What is your confidence that America would still be a staunch ally to Israel if, and only if, Iran decides to get more kinetic in this conflict?
I mean, it's a great question. I think it's a little bit beyond my pay grade, but I'll offer some thoughts. Like I said, I mean, Iran's war is it's against America as much as it is against Israel. When they have rallies where they chant "Death to Israel," the next 3 words are "Death to America." And in that sense, I think it's also different from what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, which is also dangerous. I mean, I don't know, actually. I don't know enough about that. I'm going to put that to the side. But definitely with Iran, that is the case. And to be isolationist, I think you first have to be safe. So I think if it can come along, and Iran is actually much weaker than they appear to be. The vast majority of their population, it's estimated, are against their regime, potentially up to 80+%. And if you're able to just weaken the regime through either attacks on the oil, certainly attacks on the nuclear, not only do you get rid of the nuclear, but you actually increase the chances bringing Iran 50 years back to what it was. And it used to be a great country before it was overthrown in 1979. And if you not only take care of the nuclear weapons, but probably as the domino effect from that, you get a new regime, or more accurately, a new government, not a regime, then you're looking at just a totally different Middle East where you can be isolationist because you can. There won't be so much violence and war to take care of.
That's good. Now, Chaim Goldberg, let's talk a little bit more about a potential conflict, if we can. The idea of choosing sides. That if Iran wants to be more aggressive and attack Israel and become more of a two-party war, what are the likelihoods of other Middle Eastern countries joining in, do you think? And what I'm asking for is the temperature inside of Israel. That is there a feeling that if Iran makes this more direct of a conflict between Israel and Iran, does that mean the Middle East starts choosing sides? And does Israel feel like it could be more and more isolated? And could it do things like go against the Abraham Accords? Could you find things like Saudi Arabia, again, Sunni versus Shia, but Saudi Arabia could end up siding closer with Iran just based on shared religion and regionality than it would side with Israel. What's the feeling inside of Israel of this becoming a greater danger of more and more emboldened enemies surrounding you?
I think overall it's a feeling of the great unknown. There's if we could fast forward 4 years and know what's going to be at the end of this administration, I think we're all very curious. There's obviously a lot that's unknown. There are a lot of risks, certainly, and the one thing it's important to point out, though, is you have these 4 countries that from the Abraham Accords that there was peace with, even Jordan and Egypt also, with whom there's peace. And for all that's happened, since October 7th, and for all that the world likes to, parrot the claim that there's a genocide in Gaza, these countries have not broken their peace agreements. So it's things are a little bit more tense. There's not as much trade, perhaps, going on right now. But I think that without being able to predict, and I think also a lot depends on the Israeli government. But I think that these peace agreements will stand the test of time.
Talking to Chaim Goldberg, rabbi and journalist, live from Israel. As you guys remember, I spent 4 days with the Palestinian protesters outside of the DNC, interviewing, talking to them, and some were very candid with me. The view of the Palestinians that were outside the DNC was total Islamic global domination. So we often look at what they're trying to do to Israel from Hezbollah and Hamas. It's not just Israel. It is the conquering of Western Europe, of the United States. They believe that Islam is the one true religion and that there will be global peace when Islam dominates all governments. That was from their own mouth. I'm not making that up. I have spent time at the United Nations and watched country after country spend hours at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva sit there and bash Israel over and over and over again. This is not just about defending an ally in the Middle East. This is about protecting and standing with those that want to protect Western civilization and all the freedoms and rights that we enjoy. That is why this ambassador pick is critical. That is why the alliance with Israel is important. And we need to continue to do that and stand together. I really appreciate Chaim Goldberg taking time live from Israel to give us insight into how the people of Israel feel about the election of Donald Trump and the appointment of Mike Huckabee. Rabbi, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, and I'll just end with an invitation to anybody to visit. Obviously the North is under attack, but you can be in just about anywhere else in the country. It's actually pretty safe, and it is a wonderful place to come visit.
You're exactly right. I was there about a year and a half ago, and when you consider the fact that all of the major religions of the world have holy sites in Jerusalem, in Israel, and people are protected and free to be able to go enjoy those sites, which did not happen under previous Muslim leadership in that country, that what the Jews have done is create a wonderful democracy in the Middle East. And when you go there, oftentimes you can't even tell the difference between being there and being in an American city.
And even, I'd say it's even more culturally diverse.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Rabbi, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great interview with Chaim Goldberg live from Israel. Jews rejoicing in the election of Donald Trump and the appointment of Mike Huckabee as ambassador and evangelical. Fascinating. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. Let's go to the phones. Dave, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're great. What's on your mind?
The vote today in the Senate. I'm not thrilled with any one of them. I tell you, I don't want John Cornyn.
Yeah.
He'd be like too much of the mold of Mitch McConnell, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of the concern around Cornyn. I'd always wanted Mike Lee to run for this, but I think they might be looking at Mike for Attorney General, possibly.
Now, Dave, I want to talk the issue you got with Cornyn, too much like Mitch McConnell, but Mitch McConnell has won over and over and over again. Is that necessarily a detriment?
Yeah, the one I really want is Tom Cotton, who probably doesn't want it. But that guy is superb.
Yeah, Tom is good. He is absolutely superb. We're going to continue to watch this. Give us a call. Tell us who you think you'd like to see as the leader of the Senate. Out of those three that it's likely to be between Thune, Cornyn, and Scott. Yeah. I'm a Scott guy on those three.
And Dave, I'm going to let you break the rule after they vote and they choose a leader. Call us back and give us your reaction on it. Okay, man? I appreciate you.
That would be great. All right. We've got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Bill, I didn't know our morning was going to kick off with an in-depth discussion on live streaming video games and the retribution Nintendo is bringing to a Castle Rock, man.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
And then we went all the way to Israel and talked about how they're rejoicing in the election of Donald Trump and the appointment of an evangelical named Mike Huckabee as their ambassador.
Short attention span.
It is just a funny universe we live in.
It is. It really is.
All right. Speaking of funny universe.
Yes, it is that time of the morning, and we are now back live on the YouTubes, the Rumbles. If you were, confronted by a technical glitch earlier, you can get back in to see us do the silly stuff. It is time to play You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. Yes, I have scoured the interwebs for moments this morning while not playing video games and chosen really, really dumb stories about us humans and given them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Nobody in charge has any idea nor control over this portion of the show. They are still asleep, so we will take full advantage. All right, Blake Olson in the newsroom, along with Jeff Hunt. Here are your choices this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, let the machines do it. Headline number 2, Senator worldwide. Headline number 3, wait, you believe in marketing? And headline number 4, scent of a bank loan. All righty.
Scent of a bank loan.
Smell that? Oh, smells like delicious commerce. We are going to talk about Casa Bonita.
Yes.
And the owners, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, may have heard they bought the place and they got a really big bank loan that they've got to pay off.
Really?
Yeah, it was a huge, it cost them more than $40 million to renovate the place.
40?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 4 or 5 million.
I think
40.
That may be the purchase price. But again, I know that they've been worried about the price. I don't think it's more. I believe it was over $1 million for them just to replace the HVAC. So yeah, it was a huge deal.
I mean, when you go and eat there, it's $50 a person. Minimum.
And then so they've got to find ways in order to pay off that bank loan. One of the things you may have seen if you've gone shopping on their website is their custom Casa Bonita skis selling for just north of $1,700.
No way.
But just in time for the holidays, you can share the experience of Casa Bonita with your friends and family that may not live here in the Rocky Mountains with the very special Casa Bonita scented candles. Yes, they have one that smells like Mexican hot chocolate, they say, called Casa Christmas. And another one they say smells like chlorine. Yes, they say it smells kind of like the pool. So you can buy Casa Bonita scented candles to send out this holiday season to your friends and family. The issue is make sure that you've saved up because each candle is $43.
Wow. I hope one doesn't smell like the old carpet there.
Oh, God.
It is because that's hilarious, Blake. It is Colorado's Disneyland. People are going to pay a fortune to go to it.
Yep,
and I hope they make every money back.
I hope so, too. And I love the fact they made the investment. They just did it. Yeah, it's fantastic. I still have to see Mi Amore Casa Bonita, the movie they've done about it. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't been able to see it yet.
Where's it
streaming. I don't know. We have 5 streaming platforms at home. Who knows? I just poke around until I find the one. I'm such an idiot with that. Okay, here we go.
Same way.
Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Let the machines do it. Senator worldwide. Or wait, you believe in marketing?
I like let the machines do it. Since you were talking about the Netflix and all that.
Why shouldn't we just let the machines do it? U.S. software company Salesforce is setting to hire more than 1,000 human employees to then fire them later on because they're going to replace them with AI. Salesforce is asking the new 1,000 salespeople to go out and sell their new generative AI product to all sorts of clients that will eventually eliminate the need for them to be employed. Yes, they're asking you to be employed by the company. They go out, find clients to then replace yourself.
Nice. Nice.
I'm certain that's going to be a great job interview. That's fantastic.
What's the job title?
I don't know. Planned obsolescence, I think, is the department title. So the idea is
very nice.
We need to get all these people to sell this stuff, and then we're going to replace them.
I'm sure that's going to go real well. I'm certain. I'm certain you're going to get the best and brightest salespeople on that one. Once they figure out that scam, that's going to go well for them. All right. Final choice this morning, gentlemen. Senator worldwide or wait, you believe in marketing?
Senator worldwide.
Hey, you didn't say it like I did. Okay, Senator worldwide. This is very, very important. We know that Donald Trump is assembling his cabinet. He's putting the band back together. One of them is going to be Senator from Florida, Marco Rubio. Yes, he's going to be a Secretary of State, but that leaves a vacancy for Governor Ron DeSantis. Who could possibly get it? They're talking about Florida Lieutenant Governor Janet Nunez. Perhaps Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. Maybe on tap is Florida House Speaker Jose Olivia, or the governor's chief of staff, James Utheimer. But Floridans have a different thing in mind. They want Senator Worldwide. They are pushing for Pitbull to be the next senator. Yes, they want one of the most famous residents of Miami, and he would be able to fill the seat until 2028. For me, what the hell can we lose? Let's go.
Right, I know.
I am all in for Pitbull. I'm all in for that, my friends. That's it. That's Indian Houston news. Oh, thanks for the silliness. Back to you.
All right, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Patrick Brown, Fellow of Ethics and Public Policy Center, is going to join us. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights Hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up and are heading to work in the greatest country in history. And DJT is about to be your president again. And we're kicking off a whole nother hour for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So give us a call, Denver, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Patrick Brown's going to join us. I adore this organization. It's the Ethics and Public Policy Center in Washington, D.C. He's a fellow there. Interesting piece in the New Yorker about the new pro-life playbook. What do they do now in light of the election? All the different ballot initiatives that have taken place across the country. Are the Republicans moving away from being pro-life? All these questions discussed. And is there a new strategy moving forward? Well, Patrick Brown was featured in this article. We're going to talk about this. You're not going to want to miss the conversation. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 29 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
And you have to reestablish that trust by putting in no-nonsense warfighters in those positions who aren't going to cater to the socially correct garbage.
Pete Hegseth. DJT selects Hegseth to be his Secretary of Defense. He's a non-establishment star, and Scott Jennings from CNN likes the choice.
Anyone have confidence in the current leadership of the Pentagon and the way the defense situation has been operating for the last several years? I mean, from the Afghanistan pullout, which was an extreme debacle for which no one was held accountable. We've had spy balloons flying over the United States. We built a $300 million pier as a public relations stunt, which wound up killing an American service member. I'd say I've had just about enough of the so-called insiders running the Defense Department. I think we ought to give Pete Hegseth a chance.
Right there with you. Rabbi Chaim Goldberg in Israel joining Jeff and Bill last hour to discuss Mike Huckabee, who will be the new ambassador to Israel.
Looking back historically, there's definitely been many ambassadors that were not Jewish. And, the alliance, the Judeo-Christian alliance is, thank God, is strong. I mean, there's so many shared values. We're here on the front lines of Western civilization fighting these wars against Iran and all of its proxies. And there's so much support from the Christian community in America, and Israelis know that, and they appreciate that.
The Trumpster also announced that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. They'll do that together. One of Vivek's greatest moments during the presidential primary debate.
And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go. Mr. Ross. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story. And they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to government.
Speaking of the Russia,
I love that so much.
Wasn't that awesome?
Great audio.
Hey, you know what? When you take him and JD Vance, it is very difficult not to find great stuff. I mean, it's just over and over and over. Those guys are
somebody was
smashing
posting this on X, like it feels like we're in a dream.
I know.
Like this is all really happening right now. Like Elon Musk and Vivek are putting together this Dodge committee and they're going after government weight. You're like,
oh,
really?
Man. It is just amazing how much weight has been put on us over the past 16 years. Other than the 3.5 years,
that, and it feels like Trump has just put the pedal to the metal, man. Just going at it.
It is incredible, man. The sun is brighter and the sky is bluer. Speaking of Russia collusion hoax, John Ratcliffe exposed Peter Strzok of the infamous Strzok and Page, and Ratcliffe will now be in charge of the CIA.
The approximately 50,000 text messages that I've seen with your personal beliefs like F Trump, stop Trump, impeach Trump, go ahead and confirm on the record that none of that occurred on an official FBI device or on official FBI time. Go ahead and do that.
Sir, no, they did. Many of them did.
Oh, they did. Okay, so
50,000, sir.
So really, no, I'll give you a chance at the end. So what you really meant to say was that when you said you never crossed that bright, inviolable line, what you meant to say was, except for 50,000 times, except for hundreds of times a day where I went back and forth, expressing my personal opinions about effing Trump and stopping Trump and impeaching Trump on official FBI phones, on official FBI time. Other than that, you never crossed that line.
President Biden is set to host President-elect Trump at the White House this morning in the Oval Office. Man, to be a fly on the wall, but there will be photographers in there, and that should be interesting to say the least. Senate Republicans voting today to select their new leader to take over for Mitch McConnell, who is stepping down as I would guess Florida's Rick Scott is the front runner. We'll see. State labor officials say anti-union activities by the Douglas County Sheriff's Office were illegal, according to the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office launched a campaign to discourage employees from unionizing, and it spent almost $130,000 in taxpayer money on consultants who delivered anti-union messages. The state has ordered the department to stop all unfair labor practices and to post notices informing employees of their rights. Governor Polis has ordered all flags across the state to be lowered to half staff today to honor Golden police officer who was killed in the line of duty, Evan Dunn. Memorial service for him today at Mission Hills Church in Littleton. The public is invited to line West County Line Road between South Santa Fe and Lucent to pay their respects. Dunn was killed last week, of course, when he and his partner were hit by a vehicle at the scene of a crash on Highway 58. 25 in Gun Barrel, 27 in Larkspur, and 29 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue its hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Quiet weather for Denver and the Front Range as we go to the second half of the week. It'll be sunny to partly sunny, cool, upper 40s to near 50. Fair tonight, upper 20s to near 30. Sunny and dry, mid to upper 50s Thursday and Friday. Nights 20s and low 30s. The weekend will be a touch cloudier. The weekend will be a touch cooler with temperatures on the lower end of the 50s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So following this election, lots of conversations. What's going to happen to the pro-life movement within? Did a deep dive on this. And one of the people they spoke to is Patrick Brown. He's a fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center in Washington, D.C. Absolutely one of the top organizations when it comes to family policy out there. He's got an interesting line. He says, pro-life is out. Pro-family is in. What does he mean by that? Joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show is Patrick Brown. Patrick, thanks so much for being on the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Good morning out there.
So give us some insight on what you meant about pro-life is out, pro-family is in.
Well, I'm just looking at the landscape of the abortion referenda that we had over the last couple years since the Dobbs decision was handed down. Obviously, out in Colorado, you guys are all too familiar with how that went down. And we saw a couple wins last week, which should give pro-lifers some hope that maybe there's a chance that America can be convinced about our belief about the value of the unborn. But overall, the trend line is moving in the opposite direction. And so we saw what President Trump, how he kind of distanced himself from the issue during the campaign. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for things like the child tax credit and some of the other things that he's talked about moving the GOP in a more pro-family direction. And so I think that's kind of where I see the momentum heading in the next couple of years.
Yeah, let's talk about those opportunities. What about Donald Trump? What about the Republicans? What even about Democrats? Are they proposing that would create opportunities to promote pro-family policies?
Well, the Democrats have always been sort of the school which says, as long as you write a big enough check, all these problems will solve themselves. We saw the Biden administration wanted to expand the child tax credit to go to every parent, regardless if you were working or not, child care, all this kind of stuff that they were willing to spend billions and trillions of dollars on. That's probably not financially sustainable. That's not how I would design a family policy regime, but at least it's an option, right? It's on the table. We can negotiate with that. Republicans have been a little slower to come to the table. I think sometimes people kind of think, well, the best way to help families is just, reduce taxes and that'll help everybody. And there's a grain of truth in that. But the fact is, a lot of families are making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. At that point, you're not paying a lot in federal taxes. And so cutting taxes doesn't help those families much. You have to think about other more creative ways of getting money into their hands or removing some of the barriers that make having kids so expensive. And I think that's where you're starting to see folks like J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, who might be leading the Senate, others in the party talking about what are creative ways we can kind of relieve some of the pressure that's on parents. I think that's going to be an area of focus for the GOP going forward.
Talking with Patrick Brown, he's a fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. He's quoted in the New Yorker recently saying pro-life is out, pro-family is in. Now, Patrick, I've been in the pro-life movement for decades. I sent you a little bit on email about this, but started my political career with Rick Santorum as an intern and then worked in his leadership office and then was the vice president of marketing on the film Bella. My wife is a pro-life analyst and spokesperson for Focus on the Family. So this is like big part of our life and what we're working towards. And frankly, the last few election cycles have been heartbreaking as you've watched state after state after state embrace not just kind of like, some abortion, but almost unchecked abortion, particularly in places like Colorado. And I've sat back and reflected a lot on this, and I'm sitting there going, it's not like people want abortions, right? It's not like they're out there chasing a hookup lifestyle, and then abortion becomes like this thing that they actually want. It becomes a backstop in many ways to the sexual revolution and that kind of lifestyle that people can live of having sex outside of wedlock, of the hookup culture, of not building families. And so abortion becomes an important backstop to allow the sexual revolution to take place. But I've also gone out there and thought, and I thought this article got to the point very well, that if we're trying to build families in this culture, we have to make building a family not only easier, but more appealing. What say you to that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we know that the vast majority of abortions occur for women who are not married, and that makes total sense, right? If you don't have a stable partner to help share the responsibilities of raising a child and just the time and energy that goes into that, we all know what that looks like. It can be really scary to get that positive pregnancy test and you start looking for other options. I think we have to be thinking about ways that not just government, because government can't solve all this problem, but government, society, culture at large makes it easier for people to find that special someone and get married earlier in life, have a more stable family. It's not only better for them, but it's better for if kids come into the picture. We know two-parent households are so much better for kids than single parents on all sorts of metrics. And so we have to be thinking about how can we be kind of moving upstream, right? Again, to your point, the abortion referenda have been really challenging for the pro-life movement because we've had 50 years where people have been able to say, if something happens, I'll just go get an abortion. That's kind of been the baseline assumption. And so now with states, I'm here in South Carolina and others that are passing laws to protect the unborn, there's a lot of women and others who are saying, what does this leave me? We have to be meeting them where they are, giving them the social support and resources they need, but also thinking to your point about how can we have a culture that respects parenthood and celebrates it and celebrates marriages and happy families and stable families. That's something that's going to take a long time. It took 50 years to overturn Roe. I think it'll take 50 years to build something like that. But the fact that we saw, some Republicans, thinking creatively about this, that you mentioned in that piece, and some of these other initiatives that are going on, I think there's at least a chance that the next phase of the pro-life movement will tackle that problem.
Talking with Patrick Brown, he's a fellow with the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Give me a read on J.D. Vance and his role in this upcoming administration. You had Mike Pence in the previous administration. He was staunch pro-life. J.D. Vance, deeply committed to his Catholic faith. How is that going to play into Donald Trump's leadership?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see those three figures as sort of three different sides of the coin or whatever, as where the Republican Party is going. As you mentioned, Mike Pence, straight out of central casting, classic traditional limited government conservative, very pro-life, very staunch, advocate, big champion of supporting life in all sorts of ways, but also a big believer in the best way to do this is just get government out of the way, reduce taxes, reduce regulations. That's going to be the answer. I think J.D. Vance on the other side is kind of the flip side, right? He's again equally pro-life, very committed to. He was being devastated by the fact that Ohio passed a similar measure to Colorado in 2023. He wrote a very passionate Twitter post about that, but also says, "Hey, look, maybe there's some things that the free market by itself is not going to solve, and there's ways that the government needs to step in, recognizing that parents bear costs of raising kids that non-parents don't, right? If you're a childless couple living in Denver, that family in Colorado Springs or Boulder might have, have to pay for diapers and childcare and all the rest. And maybe there's a way that the government can kind of help smooth some of those burdens out. I think, Senator, soon to be Vice President Vance is very interested in some of those ideas. And then you have someone like Donald Trump, who's sort of a weather vane on some of this stuff. I don't think anybody thinks he's a principled conservative, but he's very interested in how can we, he loves kids. He talks openly on the campaign about wanting there to be more babies and kind of is open to different ways of getting to that answer. And so the shift from a Pence Republican Party to a more muscular, more, open to questions and creative ideas Republican Party that we see with somebody like J.D. Vance, I think that opens up a lot of doors, and we can kind of see where the Republican Party goes in the next 4 and, hopefully more years than that.
Patrick Brown, fellow with the Ethics and Public Policy Center. I want to ask you about the nature of building a culture that loves families, right? How big of a problem is this demographic crunch going to be for America? We read articles about Japan, for instance, and there's just empty houses everywhere because there's just not enough people to buy the houses. For decades, when I was growing up, it was this concern of overpopulation in this world. And now we seem all of a sudden Elon Musk is leading this effort to that we don't have enough people, that the sexual revolution has really set us up in a bad way demographically. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you're totally right. You look at Japan, you look at South Korea, they're on the trajectory that they're on could lead to, if they don't change anything about immigration or change anything about their culture, their population could fall in half by the end of the century. That's what we're talking about. Massive numbers of older people, fewer younger workers to help care for them. That sets you up for disaster, both culturally as well as economically, right? It's just, you can't have a stable economy when you're losing that much economic growth and consumption over a long period of time. It's going to be a huge challenge, not just there. Europe is facing the same thing. In the U.S., we're lucky in a sense, right? We know, immigration is a huge topic. People want to come to this country. They're attracted by our freedom and our wealth and all that kind of stuff. So we can kind of buy ourselves a little bit of time in terms of the economic consequences. But I think it says something really hollow about our culture in which so many people feel like having kids just isn't for them, right? I'd rather, travel the world or really devote myself to my career or, this just, have a dog, right? That's just not, kids just sounds like too much of a commitment. And that is a sign that, our priorities are out of whack. And unfortunately, that's not something that the government can change. we can, as I mentioned, I think there is fiscal policies that can make having kids more financially affordable, so it's not as much of a burden. But ultimately, it's a question of priorities and how people are shaping their lives, what they're placing as foremost. And you can totally have a life in which you pursue professional success and have kids. People do that all the time. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people sort of can. And again, this is a cultural problem. This isn't something government can or should be, involved in. But if you don't have your priorities set right, then at the end of your life, you realize, man, I spent all those hours, working for that promotion, and now, there's nobody left here to does it mean the nursing home or whatever? These are personal, consequences that we're going to have to grapple with, and we know that it's going to have some significant downstream effects that I think we're sort of whistling past the graveyard right now.
I think you're exactly right. And I'll tell you, Patrick, what scares me, terrifies me, Bill, too, in this culture, OnlyFans. And I don't have subscriptions to OnlyFans. I've just seen women talk about the fact that they can basically, it's taken the porn industry, personalized it, and has allowed women to make a fortune of money by taking off their clothes. And rather than promoting family, stability, structure, it is like this sugar high that I think people think that they can get and make a lot of money. That's not going to carry on for the rest of their lives as they get older. Knowing the appetites of pornography viewers, it's not towards older people, but our culture's literally created this thing that hands women a ton of money to not build families and to take their clothes off. And I just think that that's destructive. And to your point, we're whistling past the graveyard. I don't know if you want to provide comment on that, Patrick.
No, I would you're right to notice the dynamic, but I'll just put a little finer point on it. It's not our culture that's giving money to women to do this. It's men, right? Predominantly. Yes. I think it's important to address the fact that there's a demand for this too. And so until you're raising up, young men who have, the self-control and the decency to be able to say no to that kind of thing, you're going to continue to see the growth in that. And it's similar to the conversation we've had. I know, Colorado is very familiar with legalized marijuana, sports gambling, all these sort of things that for a long time, we sort of had a culture that said, look, maybe you have the freedom to do this, but you really shouldn't, right? And we're going to put some barriers around these things that we know are not going to leave you happy in the long run. Now the floodgates are open, porn, weed, sports betting, all that kind of stuff that can really take over your life, especially if you're a young man and you're not totally, firm on your feet. I think that kind of stuff is really poisonous to healthy relations over the long term. Nobody wants to marry a drug-addled loser, right? So you got to be looking at both sides of the equation. And it's, again, this idea of how can we make our culture and our public policies more family friendly. I think it's a much broader conversation. Obviously, I'm still going to be very involved in legislative and judicial efforts to try to protect the unborn. I think they're, those are the most vulnerable. They deserve our attention, but it's not the only problem. And we got a lot to worry about in trying to move our culture in a more pro-family direction. And I think there's appetite for that. And that's what makes me excited.
Now, Patrick Brown, a fellow with Ethics in Public Policy Center, joining Jeff and Bill live. I appreciate Jeff bringing the OnlyFans and strap in, kids. This is the funny part with the OnlyFans thing. And Jeff was talking about, yes, when you get older, the idea of you can make money is going to lessen. But for me, that almost would increase the advantage for the younger woman, because we see in our society, we see women delaying childbirth and child rearing all the time, where we're no longer having children in the early 20s and mid 30s. We're seeing them have babies 35, 40 plus. Those are the people that are starting to age out of OnlyFans. So there is an argument based on our economy that those OnlyFans women will be transitioning out of that. And that's the time in which most women in their career will also have babies. So it's a weird thing as far as that's kind of the same thing that we see in the regular world.
I understand the economic argument, but do you think it's good for the dudes though? Like, rather than going to church, finding a wife, building a family when you're 25 years old, you're paying a subscription fee to some lady that you have no personal relationship with to watch her take her clothes off.
It worked out well for Hugh Hefner. That's the same thing. I mean, for years and years, we were paying a subscription to have naked women delivered to your door in a brown paper
But
wrapper.
to the guys.
But the guys were paying. I know. But it's the same fundamental characteristic. And this is why this is the moment. Okay, Patrick, I have to apologize. You didn't know what you're getting yourself into. This is the point in which you're going to just question your entire existence and why you'll ever respond to an interview from us again. But here's the crazy part to wrap our heads around, that there are going to be some women that are going to be so successful in OnlyFans, there are going to be grandchildren that go, yeah, we got this nice place. We live this good life because grandma got naked. Because grandma made enough money, she was able to gift us generational wealth. She was able to set us up in a position because grandma took her clothes off. Now, here's the part that's going to break everybody's brain. The fact that those grandkids are going to go back and be able to see grandma and grandpa doing the Humpty Hump live on the cameras, and nothing goes away on the internet. Again, our society is
that's
going
good for our society.
I know, exactly. And tons of apologies, but that's the really weird thing in my brain. Now, again, I want to go back in. Patrick Brown, a fellow with the Ethics and Public Policy Center, talking about this. You're talking about making the transition between pro-life to pro-family. I understand a lot of what you're saying, but I have questions to where it sounds in some cases more like a marketing change than an actual philosophy change. It sounds like McDonald's coming out and changing their slogan. Convince me that it's not just changing a slogan, that this is a fundamental change of the direction of the pro-life movement.
Yeah, man, there's so much I want to go into that, but I think, you're right to be skeptical, right? There's a sense in which, okay, the pro-life movement kind of had its high watermark with the Dobbs case that overturned Roe, and now they're getting their butt kicked a couple times. Maybe they're just trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. Maybe there's some of that. I'm not going to deny that there's obviously some Republican politicians that are throwing out everything to try to, distract from the fact that they have a position that's, we learned unpopular with the majority of Americans. Having abortion bans that don't have exceptions for rape and incest is just it's a political non-starter, right, for most of America. Now you can say, again, the principled pro-life view is to say, why should that matter? If it's a baby, it's a baby. But in practical terms, I think President Trump is largely right about this. You got to start with exceptions and go from there. And that's already, you're getting into the world of what is prudent, right? Politics is the application of these big principles, these big philosophical questions, and applying them to contemporary realities, right? And so I think there's going to be an increasing recognition that, look, the pure straight up pro-life position it has a ceiling that we're going to have to figure out ways of, over the long term, convincing people that we're right. But in the short and medium term, meeting people where they are halfway, saying, okay, look, we're not in Colorado. You just passed a massive, expansion of abortion funding and legalization. You're not going to overturn that anytime soon. So what can we do to reduce some of the incentives that might make women, whether they're on OnlyFans or whatever, who get pregnant and say, what can I do? Hey, we're going to give you free diapers. We're going to make sure you're at the head of the line for childcare subsidies. We're going to, give you a bonus in your tax code for, for taxes for the first year or two if you get married. That kind of thing where we're a little more creative. I think that helps build trust, right? That helps make, gives room for people on the left and the right to agree. Nobody wants people to seek out an abortion, right? That's always the worst case scenario. It's a tragedy, right? I think everybody says something didn't go right if it ends in abortion. Where can we intervene upstream? I think there's lots of room for common ground on that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's a great answer. Patrick Brown, fellow from Ethics and Public Policy Center. See, I like the change in the marketing slogan. And you outlined well, but it's not necessarily a marketing slogan, but I think it's stronger pro-family rather than pro-life. Now, some of the changes and things you were outlining there, here's where I see the largest hurdle or speed bump in front of the transition from pro-life to pro-family is many of the programs that we've outlined or we can discuss would seem kind of liberal. And what I mean by that is if we're talking about moving women's pay to be equal, if we're talking about increasing family child leave, if we're talking about the free diapers, or if we're talking about childcare, if you want to start subsidizing childcare, because especially for the first 3 years of life, many times childcare for that cohort can be more expensive than someone pays in rent or mortgage. Another one would be, and that would be a liberal plan or policy. And if we're talking about the idea of even raising the wages for childcare workers, one that's going to make it more expensive, the cost will be passed on to the consumer, so that doesn't help the family. But also, now we're talking about increased wages. Another super lib idea. Help me understand how we can get to a place where we're pro-family without adopting the liberal programs.
No, I think again, I give full credit to, folks on the left who have been engaged in this stuff for a lot longer than some of us on the right have been. I think the question is how you design some of these programs, right? So take the child tax credit. It's the perfect example of the Biden administration rolled this out for 6 months. Everybody gets it, regardless of whether you're working or not. And I think, there's some Republicans who said, well, this is socialism. We just can't have this at all. I think the smarter critique is to say, look, I want there to be more money in parents' pockets at the end of the month. I am 85 to 90% of the way there with you. But for some of these, families that are on the margin, you don't want to just give out free checks, because we've seen what that does over the last half century of, until there was welfare reform. It led to, the breakdown of the family, people dropping out of the labor force. We want to encourage people to at least have a foot in, earning, some pay on their own, progressing towards self-sufficiency. Let's make sure that we have some kind of work requirement in there to say, look, you got to be working or at least looking for a job, and then we'll make sure that you get the same amount of child credit that everybody else does. I think that's the difference between the right and the left. I think the left is more inclined to say, well, let's just give out the money to everybody. But at that point, you're really talking about a difference of degree rather than massive changes between left and right. And so how you design these programs, there's still going to be room to debate and still differences of opinion. But yeah, it requires us to say, hey, look, you guys, we're onto something here. Let's figure out ways to address some of these concerns about, disincentives and go from there.
Oh no, Patrick, do you understand, man, what you just did? You like alluded to like the nasty word you're not supposed to say on talk radio. Compromise. And understanding the other side? That's ridiculous. Patrick Brown, a fellow for Ethics and Public Policy Center, joining Jeff and Bill live. And I think you're right. What you've outlined there is when the Democrats often have very, very lofty pie in the sky ideals, and the Republicans are very grounded in the efficacy of making government work and making sure that the accounting works. And when both sides work together, we can do incredible things. But when both sides refuse to work together, we stand around and yell at clouds. And that's exactly what you've outlined, that the GOP can show the Democrats how their lofty ideas actually could be implemented in a very manageable and limited way. And I think that's exactly it, to take some of the crazy ideas the libs have and say, no. But if we take that goal and apply it this way, it can work much better and will help more people. Plus, we'll be able to pay for it. But we can't have compromise. We've seen what happens in Congress. Now, last question from me, Patrick. I had a question for you. We're going to talk about J.D. Vance just for a second. J.D. Vance has some interesting ideas. Some seem solid. Some seem a little strange at times. One of the things that he floated and got some blowback for during the election cycle was the idea of giving parents more say in the vote. I would like to have your reaction to that. Do you think families that have kids should have a larger share of the vote, given more votes, or have their votes count more than couples that either don't have kids or people that are singles? Just want your reaction, because he had talked about that.
Yeah, I think it's a fun thought experiment, right? Is to say, look, kids can't vote until they're 18, and they have an interest in the long-term health of this country just like everybody else does, right? They're going to be inheriting our national debt. They're going to be, growing up in a world where there's conflict in Ukraine and Taiwan. Maybe parents have their long-term interests in mind better than those, individuals who don't have kids, right? I don't think that's anything that's close to politically, realistic at this point. But I think the underlying point he's trying to make is an interesting one. Now, I would take that a step further and say, okay, maybe in voting, whatever, we can kind of play around with this idea, but at least when it comes to things, again, like the tax code, right, where we're seeing the child tax credit not as a way of, trying to end child poverty with a check, because I don't think that's how you end poverty. You end poverty by helping people develop the skills they need to be self-sufficient. But you're saying, look, family life is something that's good and it's underprovided in an economic sense. There aren't enough families. We want to be encouraging people to have stable, married, households with, having kids, all that kind of stuff. We want to supplement that in the form of something like child tax credit or something like childcare, right? Where we're having a broad approach to childcare, not just saying, look, we're going to subsidize your expenses, but only if you put them in kinder care or, some for-profit center, but whether that's grandma or a church daycare. I mean, this is something that Senator Vance has talked about a lot, and trying to think about ways to get the community involved in helping raise kids, because Hillary Clinton was right. It does take a village. It just doesn't mean that the government is the only village, right? We have to be building those webs of support and community around parents. That's going to make it easier to have kids. That's going to make it help happier parents, happier kids. And I think that's going to be the goal. Again, can government do this tomorrow? No, I don't think government can wave a magic wand, but it can at least think about ways of designing our public programs and policies that help encourage that kind of attitude, rather than one that says, well, having a kid is really kind of like having a dog, or like buying a boat. It's just one other expense that people can choose to avail themselves or not. I think that's going to be, an increasingly big topic of conversation in the next couple of years.
Patrick Brown, fellow at Ethics and Public Policy Center. By the way, EPPC is what they go by. If you want to learn more about them, go to eppc.org. eppc.org. You can learn more about the great work going on at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Patrick, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks, man. You're a lot of fun. Look forward to coming back soon. Thank you.
Hey, anytime. We'll talk about OnlyFans or whatever you want.
You're the best. Have a great day.
Oh, how much can Bill make off of OnlyFans?
Dude, I am lucky that my wife wants to see me naked every so often. I mean, this under the clothes, this is definitely not for sharing. No.
I will tell you, when your wife came by IHOP, it was very cute to watch you two.
Oh, thanks.
You guys are like teenagers. Like,
yeah, we are. I get so
love
excited
with each other.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
She made me so excited when I saw her walk in. It's so nice. Yeah, I love her.
Well, if you're going to build a family, you probably need a home. And I want to talk to you about my friends over at Empower Home. Did you know that last year, over 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing? This cost home sellers thousands of dollars in lower offers and painful holding costs. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams have a track record of selling homes fast and get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average, netting their sellers $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the service they provide and the results that they can get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time at no cost to you. This is their cancellation promise. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just wrapping up a great interview with Patrick Brown over at Ethics and Public Policy Center on how the pro-life
that was really cool.
Message is shifting over to pro-family stuff, and I think rightfully so. So
yeah,
let's go to the phone lines. Jay, Denver, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. Spectacular guest this morning. Excellent.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about Waffle House, and I know that you've probably all been there, and I'm sitting in front of one right now. I'm not going to go in, I'm just waiting for work to begin. Wouldn't it be interesting to have Trump and his new dream team do like they did in McDonald's and have them go to Waffle House and make eggs and bacon and grits and all that? But above, each time an egg cracks, we talk about the little captions like cartoon characters of how much that egg actually cost in, let's just say, the start of his administration, and how much it costs right now. Every time that egg hits the griddle, the ham hits the griddle, the bacon that's very expensive, and all of that, and have all of the folks that he's beginning to hire actually serve people. And I do mean that, because I think the McDonald's thing was so genuine, because I heard on a station, perhaps yours, that 1 in 9 have worked at a McDonald's in the United States.
Me?
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Well, the only thing they'd have to do, though, is, I mean, to really give it the authentic feeling of Waffle House, part of the way through whatever they're doing, someone has to fight. You got to have a fight spill out, because that's just what happens at Waffle House.
Yeah.
It's like my trip on Spirit Airlines.
Yes,
I was like,
exactly.
of course, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
No, Jay, to
Love me
your
the
point,
Waffle House, though.
this is coming down the track, and Coloradans don't realize how painful it is about to be. Starting January 1st of 2025, only, and this comes from a guy who has chickens and sells his eggs, only cage-free eggs are going to be sold in supermarkets.
Yeah, that's more expensive.
Crazy. And then also, Billy, you'll have to run the jukebox, the Gorders, remember?
Oh, yeah.
At Waffle House, they have a jukebox. And I know you're all about that.
Oh, yeah.
But, the other thing that gets me about this, let's just talk about the Colorado thing, is Jack Phillips. We buy things there, and I visited many times Casey and Mark and Billy Boyles right in front. And one year it was so cold, and they were sitting out on the balcony of Jack Phillips' place. And I just think it'd be really cool to figure out, maybe I'll call you back next week and work on this concept, so we all order cakes from Jack and send them. Like, I would like to send, and I mean edible, nice. I don't mean negative. A nice cake to the girls at The View, to CNN, and just flood Jack
that could be fun.
with business. Yes, and give back. We all have to order cakes anyways. And I just, I love Jack, but Jack stood up for all of us. He stood up for our children, for faith. And, it's not easy to stand up and take a beating. You guys know that. Billy, I just heard somebody call you. I know you've got a very big brain. I know you. I've met you before. And I can confirm to the people that there's a real, and Jack just stood up, and Jay Sekulow, and you guys support them. And I do mean that genuinely. Wouldn't it be cool to send some nice cakes with them? Just says thank you.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's a great one,
I
Jay.
love
Thank
that
you.
idea. By
That's
the
a great
way,
idea. We'll have to
I
talk
had
about
an
that.
idea that I approached Alliance Defending Freedom, who are Jack's
which is
attorneys with. I was like, let's bake Colorado's biggest cake.
Oh, yeah.
By Jack Phillips.
Yeah.
Just so it's like, who holds the record for the largest cake in Colorado? And you get all the news and all the news. It's Jack Phillips.
Oh, that's great.
They didn't run with it. They didn't run with it, but I thought that would be fun.
I like that idea of being able to ship the cakes. And the thing is, I would almost go, rather than the big size ones, do some mini cakes, because the shipping cost would be a little bit less and easier. And you could do something very easy that way to then, and have some sort of message, but make sure you include the message about Jack Phillips on the inside. Also, appreciate the call, Jay. And my go-to when you're leaving, and he's right about the Waffle House and the jukebox, though, if I'm in the right mood, I'll go over there and drop $5 to $7 and find the most annoying song and put it on repeat for a while. That's my parting gift to everybody. It's like, ooh, Bobby McDarren's Don't Worry, Be Happy. You're hearing that 7 times after I'm gone. Good luck. Have a good day, guys. I'm out of here.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I totally do that.
All right. Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to talk to you about Dr. Mike and the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps provide people like you and me to feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. Let me read that again. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Every single person in this office is delightful. Their knowledge and consultative approach to dental care is fantastic. We highly recommend them to everyone we know. Look, if your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The pinhole surgery is so painless that many clients go on to have other areas of their mouth treated as well. They also offer sedation if you have any apprehension at all. So why not get all those problems fixed? You'll feel better. You'll look better. It'll all work out. You got to schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. 303-233-1335, RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Quiet weather for Denver and the Front Range as we go to
back to the Jeff and Bill show. Boy, you get people texting. You guys talked to all the fans on the show.
So I was like, a friend of mine was like, I think your ratings went up when you did that. Love you guys for listening. Yeah, this has been a fun hour. This is why we are unique. This is why we're like unlike anything else in Denver and probably unlike anything else in the country.
We've discussed Mike Huckabee. We took a call from Israel, and then we discussed OnlyFans and the pro-family movement coming from Republicans.
And then how to send Jack Phillips cakes out to the sad libs.
Yeah.
This is short attention span
It
theater.
hurts to laugh. And Billy's making me laugh so much.
I'm so
this
sorry.
morning.
We are having fun.
Oh boy! In addition to video games, dude, we didn't even.
Oh yeah, the video games. Yeah,
remember Nintendo?
Yeah, I got to do my nerd flag. Got to fly for a while. Yeah,
There's a guy being sued for $7 million by Nintendo in Colorado.
Here's the thing, dude's 38 now because it's been happening for years and years. He was getting some pirated games and stuff that hasn't been released. And
Haven't been released yet.
Yeah, so he's on Twitch. Here's okay. He's gonna have to go into court and go. Yeah, I'm 38 and yes, I make money doing the video game thing. That's that's gonna be fun. But again, I know some people in that age group that do that actually are in their early 30s making good money on Twitch and streaming and stuff. Yeah, really good money doing it.
So fascinating story. I'm reading a book about a guy who invests in a lot of these early tech. And one of the bigger investors into Twitch didn't even realize he did it.
No.
Do you know why?
He thought it was OnlyFans.
Close. He thought it was Justin TV, which is what it was originally.
Yeah.
So Justin TV was a network that followed around a guy live. They then pivoted and became Twitch. He didn't even realize it was one of many investments he's made. Got a call from Twitch being like, well, here's your millions. He's like, what?
Wow. I need
cool?
that. Here's the thing. Think about it this way. How easy is it for you to make one bad decision and ruin your life, but you never get to make one good decision and have it change? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. We were sitting around, we got so drunk, we cured cancer. Never happens.
No,
nobody's accidentally won the lottery.
And this wild show is going to continue.
Yes.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on what has got to be one of the strangest Jeff and Bill shows we've ever had.
You're welcome.
We've talked Nintendo only fans. We took a call from Israel. Chaim Goldberg was wonderful. Jews are excited about Mike Huckabee. We're covering it all, including the new Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense appointment coming in from Doanld Trump as well. Yeah. So it is Peter Hegseth out of Fox and Friends. Great background in the military as well. What do you think of that? Let's dive into this hour. All these different appointments that are coming through. I'm on DJT's press release email list, and it is just constant. New announcement. He was doing them like every 7 minutes yesterday. So everyone from Kristi Noem as Department or Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security to Mike Huckabee heading over to Israel. He's coming up with his team. What do you think of Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk building Dodge, Department of Government?
Actually, Doge.
Doge.
Yeah, Doge is how you pronounce it because it's a meme. Yeah,
it is a meme. Yeah,
it's a meme because it's a Shiba Inu out of Japan. It was the Doge. It's
Doge.
Again, we could.
Department of Government Efficiency.
My nerd thing could come out again. We're not going to do that twice.
So
that's going to be interesting.
We also have an announcement. Jeff and Bill are going to be creating their own OnlyFans account where we live stream pirated, pre-released Nintendo video games.
Yes, we are. See how many laws we can break in one fell swoop. How many times can we get indicted? Yeah, that Doge department is going to be interesting because it's a $6 trillion budget, and they have made Trump's made a promise that within 6 months they will come out with recommendations. Wow, and it's weird. And it's weird that you're putting someone in charge of government efficiency whose companies derive a large portion of their revenue from government subsidies. Wonder if that's going to be part of the efficiency he's curious about. It's going to be fun. This will be fun to watch because
I know it almost feels like a dream. I'm like, really? This is happening? Well, I love it.
We've had so many other politicians promise us to find the waste and spending. And once Vivek and Elon understands some of the constraints based on how the spending works, they might be in for a big shock because they have to remember it is not the White House that controls the purse strings. If they want to change spending levels, they got to get 500 people to agree. That'll be fun.
500?
House and Senate,
but not all of them.
You got to get some sort. You got to
get a majority.
Yeah, you got to get a majority of them too. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
see what happens with that one.
I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff coming out, kind of like the golden hammers. I saw some posts yesterday on how Boeing is even driving up some of the costs around their airplanes. Yeah, I think you'll see some cuts happening there.
I've been saying that for 8 months. I've been saying that for 8 months. That some of the reason we have costs is because those companies are profit taking on top of our backs for 8 months, and I've been bringing things to the table, showing Coke, Pepsi, Johnson & Johnson screwing you, Kroger screwing you because they can make more profits off of it. Yes. But Doge can't touch that. Can't touch this. Yeah, they can't do that. So we'll have to see what happens. Also, but if he will go after the audit inside of the Defense Department and stop us paying, what was it, $180,000 for the soap dispensers on cargo planes? Yes. That's what the government did recently. When you can buy them for a couple $100. They paid more than 80 times retail for it. If they can break that down, high five. Yeah. I'm all behind you on that one, man.
So we'd love to hear from you. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. The text messages are amazing.
They are amazing this morning.
Oh, Gabe, we love you guys. But if you two create an OnlyFans account together, I'm done. Vomiting emoji, vomiting emoji.
but maybe Gabe, it is for those people that want self-punishment. There's a group out there. Maybe it's people that are looking for that. Maybe that is our target market.
Oh,
maybe that's it. Perhaps actually we roll into something that would be combined with weight loss. That I dance in front of the screen and kill your appetite. Could be that. Just saying. I'm
trying so hard not to laugh.
I know you are.
Now.
I'm so sorry.
It's hilarious.
I'm just off the rails this morning. I apologize.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
And the only reason is I had a little abdomen work done recently, so it hurts to laugh. But Billy is pushing me to that boundaries, which so maybe I can heal better.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Blake, smart enough not to have an OnlyFans account.
I am so grossed out now. I can't even tell you. 31.
I'm helping you lose weight. Keep in mind.
Yeah,
It's all about you,
exactly.
yes.
This is the way I appreciate that,
You're
Billy. And thanks for the Doge pronunciation. I knew you'd have the answer to that one also. 31 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Am I going to worry about it? First of all, I'm not going to worry about it, Phil, because he's not going to win.
He's not going to win. She's going to win easily.
Is hope and joy rising?
Victory is in sight in less than 3 weeks.
I think that he loses.
If only their predictions were correct. Man,
Dude,
it's been
that song. Oh my God, that's so good.
and that's
fans,
a
high five.
yes, exactly. It's a parody
Yeah,
too.
good job.
The singer is pretty. It's a karaoke thing. It's really bad. I don't recommend listening to the rest of it. But if their predictions were correct, they'd be celebrating today. But we are celebrating Ship of Fools. They're Ship of Fools. DJT is visiting President Biden in the Oval Office this morning. That should be fun. The commander-in-chief's chatting. Trump selected Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense last night.
You got to fire the chairman of Joint Chiefs, and you got to fire this. I mean, obviously, you're going to bring in a new Secretary of Defense, but any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go. Either you're in for war fighting, and that's it. And that's the only litmus test we care about. You got to get DEI and CRT out of military academies, so you're not training young officers to be baptized in this type of thinking. And then, whatever the standards, whatever the combat standards were, say, in, 1995, let's just make those the standards. And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve. And lots of other ways in which you could identify who gets promoted and what, but there's an ethos change. I mean, there's a reason people don't want to serve, because they don't trust that their senior leaders are going to have their best interest in mind in combat.
So refreshing. What may be as important as defense, the family in America. Patrick Brown joined the fellas last hour. He's a fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center, talking pro-life, which wasn't the top priority last week, of course, but pro-family vital to the GOP and DJT.
We saw what President Trump, how he kind of distanced himself from the issue during the campaign. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for things like the child tax credit and some of the other things that he's talked about moving the GOP in a more pro-family direction. And so I think that's kind of where I see the momentum heading in the next couple of years.
Because Satan is definitely at work. When you listen to the Sean Combs Diddy stories and the crimes that occurred, all of a sudden Hollywood is silent. Harvey Levin, TMZ.
There are lots of videos that Diddy kept over the years that have been now seized by the feds. And a lot of these videos are also going to some of the civil lawyers. Busby told us he has gotten a slew of these videos. And I think there's just panic in Hollywood. Am I on that video? Was I in some situation in 1999 or 2002 where it might be interpreted a certain way or might end up in trial? I think there's a lot of panic. And that's what we're hearing. And people just don't want the association, and they don't want to talk about it. I think it's that simple.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff, man.
Are you?
All over. I mean, I'm talking about politicians, not just actors, actresses, I mean,
look,
there
here's some of the frustration I have with a lot of this. Like,
okay,
you hear stuff about Epstein and the island and the people that were on the airplanes. And then you hear about the Diddy videos, and we've got videos of all this stuff. And then it doesn't seem like anything ever materializes.
Right.
Yet, if you're a truck driver who didn't pay his taxes for 2 years,
yes,
the weight of the federal government is going to come down on you, and you're going to be intimidated, and you're going to have your house taken, and you're going to have your truck taken, and you're going to be fined. Yet these yahoos that are destroying people's lives and producing content that ruins kids' brains, right? And yet they just skate on all this. That just drives me crazy.
No, it is nuts. And then you see a video like the one that I'm about to play you. It's even more depressing because this is an area that I'm like, what? You stumble upon evil like this on a TED Talk.
But just like pedophiles, we are not responsible for our feelings. We do not choose them.
Yeah, can you believe this?
We are
Listen.
responsible for our actions. And we must make a decision. It is our responsibility to reflect and to overcome our negative feelings about pedophiles.
Seriously? I mean, it
Look,
is bad. So when you hear that, you say, you know what? Anything is possible with Diddy and Hollywood and Epstein and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we threw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to any type of sexual ethics or, social, societal pressure that you should build a family and that sex takes place within the confines of one man, one woman in, building a family.
Correct.
We threw that all out. And this isn't LGBT stuff. This goes back to the sexual revolution, what we were talking about with Patrick Brown previously. We tossed it all out. And now we have no foundation whatsoever. And you end up with people like that. That's just ridiculous. That should be condemned. Sad. It should be easily condemned. But when you have a culture that has no right or wrong, no ethics, God forbid you put the 10 Commandments on the wall. They get angry about that. This is the crap you now deal with because you took away all ethical foundations. So now you have nothing to base your outrage on when somebody shows up at a TED Talk and says, we should get over our aversion towards pedophilia. It's ridiculous.
It is. And then you have the J-Los of the world telling us, who the morality kings are. It's so gross. There's so many things.
I hope we get to a point, and especially under the Trump administration with J.D. Vance, I'm putting the weight on J.D. Vance on this. The Epstein lists, the guys who were going to these islands, these P. Diddy videos, out. I don't need to see the video, but who's involved in this stuff?
Yeah, that's why I want Kash Patel in there.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff has to be exposed from JFK all the way up to right now.
I'm just tired of living in lies, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm right there with you. And back to the good guys. You had Rabbi Chaim Goldberg in Israel on the show to discuss Mike Huckabee, who will be the new ambassador to Israel.
Looking back historically, there's definitely been many ambassadors that were not Jewish. And the alliance, the Judeo-Christian alliance is, thank God, is strong. I mean, there's so many shared values. We're here on the front lines of Western civilization fighting these wars against Iran and all of its proxies. And there's so much support from the Christian community in America, and Israelis know that, and they appreciate that.
Governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, on her father, Mike.
There's no greater supporter and nobody that has a greater understanding of our two nations' unbreakable bond.
DJT also announced that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, together. John Ratcliffe exposed Peter Strzok of the infamous Strzok page and the Russian hoax on DJT, and Ratcliffe will now be in charge of the CIA. Real quick from Ratcliffe.
The approximately 50,000 text messages that I've seen with your personal beliefs like F Trump, stop Trump, impeach Trump, go ahead and confirm on the record that none of that occurred on an official FBI device or on official FBI time. Go ahead and do that.
Sir, no, they did. Many of them did.
Oh, they did. Okay, so
50,000, sir.
So really, no, I'll give you a chance at the end. So what you really meant to say was that when you said you never crossed that bright, inviolable line, what you meant to say was, except for 50,000 times, except for hundreds of times a day where I went back and forth expressing my personal opinions about effing Trump. And
this is a great day. Senate Republicans voting today to select their new leader to take over for Mitch McConnell, who's stepping down And we'll see if Rick Scott is the front runner and see if he wins that one. Dozens of pilots taking their stand against Frontier Airlines in the Denver area. Pilots are picketing outside of Frontier Airlines headquarters this week in Denver as a part of an informational picket. Avs go for 3 straight tonight as they play host to the Kings. 28 in Parker, 29 in Westminster, 31 in Denver. Jeff and Bill from Doge continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Quiet weather for Denver and the Front Range as we go to the second half of the week. It'll be sunny to partly sunny, cool, upper 40s to near 50. Fair tonight, upper 20s to near 30. Sunny and dry, mid to upper 50s Thursday and Friday. Nights 20s and low 30s. The weekend will be a touch cloudier. The weekend will be a touch cooler with temperatures on the lower end of the 50s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I got to do a tip of the hat to our producer, Adam, who shared this article with us, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez directly addresses people who voted for both her and Trump. On Sunday, AOC reflected on Donald Trump's success in last week's election and engaged with supporters on social media to try to unpack the thinking that led to it. First of all, I appreciate that she did this, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is interesting. The progressive lawmaker who cruised to re-election in New York's 14th congressional district noted that many House Democrats outperformed the top of their ticket. In her district, voters swung towards Trump by a substantial margin compared to how they voted when the president-elect faced Joe Biden in 2020. She said, let's do this right now. If you voted for Donald Trump and me, or if you voted for Donald Trump and voted Democratic down ballot, I'd really love to hear from you, AOC said during a Q&A on her Instagram story. This is not a place of judgment. I'm not going to put your stuff on blast or anything like that or dunk on it. That's genuinely not the intent here. I really want to learn from you. I want to hear what you were thinking. So here's some of the responses that she posted under the headline, I'm listening. So people who voted for Trump and me or voted for Trump Dem, tell us why. It's real simple. Trump and you care for the working class. Another, but wanted change, so I went with Trump and blew for the rest of the ballot to put on some brakes. So I want a lot of change, just not that much change. Voted for Trump, but like you and Bernie, I don't trust either party establishment politicians.
That's me.
So kind of, I don't like either of them, but Trump was the least worst out of all of them.
Yeah.
Action and progress, another person wrote. Stagnation and excuses. Both of you push boundaries and force growth. See, it's hard for me, Bill, to wrap my brain around somebody that doesn't vote straight party. Now, there are...
That's why you look at me as crazy sometimes. I don't understand you.
I'm you understand the policies here? And what happens when one party gets the power? They're able to push these agendas forward. But there are times where I will skip a particular Republican because maybe I have a personal issue with them, but I'll never vote for the Democrat in it. But these people that voted both sides are interesting. I would have voted for you and Trump, but I am in California and I like your style.
Yeah.
I guess I can understand why some voters would like style. I'm a substance type of person, but style. Trump is going to get us the money and lets men have a voice. You're brilliant and have amazing passion. So that sounds like a dude that was like, I'm tired of the Dems beating on the dudes. Plus, AOC is attractive, so I'm going to vote for her. It's kind of brand covers that. I feel like Trump and you are both real. Another one wrote, voted for Trump in Arizona, but voted for Dem Rubin instead of Kerry Lake because he's good at handling war. man, people are different. I guess people have just a million different reasons as to why they vote for somebody. I feel that you both are outsiders compared to the rest of DC and less establishment. And then will you please share what you learn? I'm baffled by the split votes. And she does there. So, I mean, a lot of them, she goes on multiple pages. I know the people that did this because of Gaza, which is weird, why you'd vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And then.
Okay, I'm going to take a sideway here. And we talked about this a little bit off air. And I can't get I haven't been able to find previous 2 hours, the source. But I saw a press release yesterday that was on social media by a Muslim group. And they were the people that were advocating to sit out. They were the undecideds during the primary for the Democrats. And they advocated for Muslims to sit out the election. Well, they put out a press release yesterday talking about, here's what we need the Biden administration to do for us now, because we're proving the point that they lost, that we didn't show up. And so we're part of the reason that you guys lost. So here's what the Democrats have to do to us. Here's what Biden needs to do in the closing months before the presidency ends. Here's what it is to bring us back in the tent. And oh my God, the response.
Yeah,
I did not expect it, because the response was, you guys need to sit down, shut up, and get bent. It was universal. I scrolled and I couldn't find a positive response. And these are from some long-time libs that I see on social media. Yeah. Some big names that you'd recognize going, shut up, and sitting there saying, wait. The best one was the person that asked, hang on, you mean you sat out the election? So in part, you're the reason, you take credit for in part the reason that Kamala loses. And now you're telling that party what they have to do for you? Like, no.
But isn't that Dick Wadhams?
I wouldn't say so, because I don't think.
Really? He voted against Donald Trump and wants to control the future of the Republican Party, or at least speak into it.
The thing, though, is that this is the difference would be is that Dick Wadhams is not coming to it, in my mind, from a point of I don't want to. Selfishness is not the right statement, because he's looking at what's better for the Republican Party, and people in reasonable minds can disagree on the direction of the Republican Party.
Isn't that what they're saying?
No.
They want a Democrat Party that supports Gaza, rejects the Jews, and so in order to earn their vote, they're going to sit this out. They're going to make you go through the pain of losing this election, so you come to your senses, abandon Israel, embrace Hamas and Gaza. And how is that? I mean, that happens to Republicans too.
The difference is because this is an organized group now advocating for things that they want done that is among their policy positions. Dick Wadhams isn't out there saying, here's my group of people that I'm representing. He's not saying, he doesn't have, I know he takes the role as far as being the voice, but the difference would be if he was involved. For me, this is where I put the split in, because again, individuals can have these points. The thing that I thought was interesting is this is an organized group that said, here we are, this coalition. And because as a group, we did this, you now must make the choices we are demanding from you, even though we wouldn't play along with the vote in order to get the people in power to make the changes that we would want.
Yeah.
If Wadhams was doing that, if he had organized a large group, that was the, I'm just spitballing here, the no Dave Williams group. Just for fun. Right. I'm just going to say that.
I was
going to
say, I think that group's kind of been created.
Exactly. So if he had organized a group specifically, and he was leading it, and they'd been putting out press releases, and he'd been going around places making speeches about no Dave Williams is. Well, the one thing we have to do, and he had a little picture that said no Dave and had a little slash mark for it or something like that. If he was doing things like that, I think it's analogous. But because he's an individual, I don't think it's the same as this group coming forward going, look what we did. We proved a point, and now you have to do what we want.
So
and the Democrats went, no, we don't.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me is actually the Democrat counter response. Because in the Republican movement, this happens every Tuesday.
Yeah. You're right.
Where like the pro-life group is like on Prop 115, for instance. I think it was Colorado Right to Life.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure. But they're going, we don't want to just ban late-term abortion. We want to ban abortion entirely. And because you're not going to do it, we're not going to support your effort. So you had pro-life groups not supporting the effort, essentially making the same argument.
Yeah.
You're not with us entirely. We're going to make you pay until you're with us entirely.
Exactly.
That happens all the time. And then Republicans are like, gosh, all right, well, I guess we just move on, continuing to lose in this state of Colorado. Whereas what got me, and this is to their credit, The Democrats are like, get the hell in line.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was sit down, shut up. It was you have no right to complain about this, and it would be the same thing if that a group came forward and said, see, we told you. And so until the GOP supports, no abortions ever for any reason, whatever, if they said, now you must bend to our will this way because we proved the point.
That happens all the time. Yeah.
Okay. So a little advice from a guy that's not in any party. Tell them to shut up. That'll really work out better. Yeah.
And then the GOP coming along being like, we've got to win, get in line.
Yeah,
so,
exactly,
and the GOP doesn't really do that. We just continue to fight each other and civil wars go back and forth over and over again. All right. I want to
back to AOC.
So here's the question I'd love to get from our listeners. Did you split ticket? I would love to hear people that split tickets. I don't split tickets.
Oh yeah, I did.
I am straight Republican all the way, straight conservative. Now you could debate the ballot initiatives and was 80 enough on school choice, all that. But on party line, did you split and why?
I am an agent of chaos.
I would love to hear from you. And so give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dankopolis Law Text line, 720-819-5115. I find you fascinating. It's a non-judgment zone. I'm going to yell at you, but why'd you split ticket? Was it personality? Was it issues? Did you think that the person running for president was handsome or cute? I don't know. Want to hear from you. What was the reason to split the tickets? What's that?
I need to go through. They're going to the OnlyFans thing again. Can't leave that alone.
What does Kamala do now? All right.
Oh, don't tell. Oh, I bleach.
All right. We are falling apart.
We are. So bad.
All right. If you're like me, you know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it. We've got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust. And that's Colorado's Best Roofing. They're local, family owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's Best Roofing has got you covered. And here's what I really love. They offer a free, no obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, give you an honest assessment. There's no pressure, no gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today, especially if you just came out of the storm. Things are bad, and you got to get that roof fixed right now. Get it now because you got more weather coming, possibly Monday and Tuesday of next week. They can get out there and help you right away. Don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give them a call, 303-797-7663. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com. Roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's Best Roofing. Text messages starting to pour in. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Interesting text messages coming in essentially all the same.
Really?
Which is, I really like divided government. I don't like one party rule. And that is why I split the ticket. That's coming in from progressives and conservatives on the text message line.
Look at that. My people.
There's hope.
It's my people.
But Colorado is like so not divided government.
Yeah.
It is just wildly progressive. I mean, to the point where you can literally have a Jewish governor, a Jewish attorney general, a Jewish secretary of state, and then you have people in your own party go up into the gallery and shout down Jews and hold up Palestinian flags.
Yeah.
Like that's just when you guys, you just let the crazies in. You're so big that and so powerful that lunatics have gotten in.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it also is a critique of the ineffectiveness of the GOP in Colorado, not nationally, but just how the messages haven't stuck. That whatever the messaging is, whatever they've chosen to put forward, hasn't moved the needle for most voters. But we have seen some messaging that gives conservatives hopes in the last couple of cycles here in the state. So let's see what happens.
So AOC hosts this interesting, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hosts this interesting conversation on her Instagram account where she asked the people why they supported both Donald Trump and her, those interesting split ticket folks. And here's some of the audio from that conversation.
Personally, I don't. I think that a lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians. And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something. Like, if you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were? That, I think, is the actual core issue of the problem.
So AOC is right initially, and then she kind of spins off into this weird thing about, well, you stood with the trans people and now you think that there should be some changes. But the notion of authenticity is something you and I, Bill, have talked a lot about on the show.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that an elected official, and I've been around a lot of them, I've spent most of my career with them, but why don't they have that ability to just go, man, we really got this one wrong. Like, I was going in this direction. Like, I'll tell you where I got it wrong. War in Iraq.
Oh, I was thinking you were going to say the show. Sorry.
Right. I joined the Jeff and Bill show.
Yes.
Signed up for that.
Didn't understand. Get myself into.
No, I'd much rather. No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay,
but I got that one wrong. I thought we were doing this great thing. We're bringing democracy to the Middle East, that the people in Iraq were going to love us, that we were taking the fight over to the Middle East and not having it here, especially after 9/11. And 20 years removed from that, watching my childhood friends die, and I just don't know what we achieved out of it. And I think I could go, we goofed on that one big time. That was a big mistake. And why other politicians, like when Kamala Harris was on The View, and it's like, what are you going to do different than Joe Biden? Because she was involved, because she said, I was in all these rooms, I helped make all these decisions. Yeah. She can't come up with one thing where she goes, you know what? Some of our underlying assumptions about what was taking place were wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do better about it. And I actually think people would love that out of their politicians.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can show you one direct example that's much more recent history. And this is in the last couple of years. I'm going to say this has got to be in the last 3 years for me. And it was about transgender and using the bathrooms. Yeah. I personally didn't see anything wrong with a transgender person using whatever bathroom they're identifying as. And I got into a lot of conversations with women about the idea of the transgender women walking into that bathroom. And I kept coming back to the idea of, no. They're going there to go to the bathroom. They're not going in there to assault you. They're not going in there because if they wanted to, there's nothing preventing that from happening now. There's no lock on the door. There's no biometric scanning. There isn't a security guard. Anyone could take advantage of that open bathroom at any point in time now if they had nefarious plans. And I'm like, I don't understand that. And I got down to one woman that said, no, it's because of the male genetics. She looked at me and she goes, I don't care if they're wearing a dress and they call themselves Alice, or they're wearing jeans and call themselves Steve. It's the fact that the genetics, that's what makes me feel unsafe. And I went, oh, okay. That makes sense to me, that simply because the experiences they've had in their lives, regardless of that person identifying as heterosexual, homosexual, transgender, doesn't matter. It's just
They just don't want a dude there.
Yeah, that's fine. And that seems reasonable. And I think that part of the LGBTQ side, they need to find a solution to that, because every single transgendered woman that I've talked to about that went, oh, that makes sense. I can honor that. I can make this choice if they feel uncomfortable with this. That's okay. Not a single one has said, no, I deserve to walk in there. And we're missing that conversation. And that's part of it. So we're all wrong. And think about this. I'll give you a contemporary example. In the very last election, what do you think could have happened if the Democrats, and only if, they were smart enough to start out with Kamala's campaign when immigration became a problem and go, yeah, we messed that up. We learned a lot. We came out, and they could even do we came out with this bill right at the beginning. Republicans didn't like it. Republicans had this hardcore bill, HR 2. It wasn't going to fix the problem because of X, Y, and Z. But our policies at the beginning, we did not understand this. And her going, I've been in the office and I have learned so much. And look at what we just did in the recent bill. Now she can claim all the stuff she was trying to claim anyway. But if she starts with, we got it wrong, we learned, we changed, now you got a different message. I think you have a more competitive message, not a better message necessarily persuading voters away from Trump, but you sure as hell have a competitive message at that point.
Part of the challenge, though, is you have to assume that what they were doing was not intentional and became a mistake. And we don't have to get into that.
Even if it was intentional, they still can come out. I mean, how many times do you see politicians come out and say, even if it was intentional, they still can come out and lie to us just in order to get to where they need to be. Politicians. Yes. Yeah.
So
huge mistake.
We're asking to talk to people who split tickets, vote Republican, Democrat in some of those cases, and then AOC asking that a politician be more authentic. Why can't they be? Would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Look, did you wake up with joint pain today? Does it hurt when you do even the most routine physical activities? Maybe shoveling the snow has hurt you, but you want to get out, you want to ski, you want to hunt this fall. Have they told you it's time for a knee and hip replacement surgery? Stop what you're doing and listen to this. You deserve a life of comfort and ease with no surgery and no meds. At QC Kinetics, they can get you there. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in what's called regenerative cellular treatments for joint pain. This is an all-natural approach that harnesses your own body's healing properties to treat the root cause of your arthritic pain. Everybody's talking about this, and it's cutting edge. Joel in our office here playing more golf than he's ever played before thanks to QC Kinetics. The protocols developed by QC Kinetics are life-changing for many people, tens of thousands of satisfied patients with more every day. And yes, you can have real lasting relief from chronic joint pain without the drugs, without the surgery, and without the downtime. Discover your options with advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. The consultation is absolutely free. Give them a call, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Highlands Ranch, and Colorado Springs. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Jim, Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey, guys. I always split the ticket on voter time because I see it as a resistance to government future spending.
I like that.
When both sides aren't able to get the projects they want in, and so it just kind of stalls.
Well, I want two different sides to agree on spending my great-great-great-grandchildren's tax futures, because that's all government is to me, is a tax futures trading marketplace. And they've out-traded the ability for probably 15 generations to pay anything off or balance a budget.
Yeah,
so,
I like that idea too.
And it happens. It happens on the local level and the national level. So I always want to have resistance and opposition and at least discussion on spending tax futures. And if not, you have what you had in 2000 through 2006. W, the conservative Republican, didn't veto a single spending bill for 6 years until the Terry Schiavo came about. Even in Douglas County, you guys had a chairman of the school board who inflamed the Douglas County parents and lost the next several elections because he couldn't keep his mouth shut and had zero discipline about school vouchers. So they lost the next several elections because there's no discipline in these people that are out there just trying to make money off of politics.
Yep, Jim, you're not wrong about that.
Everywhere.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Good
I
points,
appreciate
man.
the
Yeah,
call.
I like the idea about the split ticket and some constraint on spending if you have to make them meet in the middle.
I wish Republicans could find some constraint and not support taxpayer funding for Planned Parenthood every single time. It's like, oh, we've got to do spending bill. Oh, Republicans never negotiate on that one. We are always sending money to Planned Parenthood, which is just crazy to me. All right. Do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is ever increasing in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leaders in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics, with an emphasis in public policy, prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. AOC over the weekend hosting an interesting live chat on Instagram, talking to the people that split the ticket, voted for her and then Donald Trump. Yes, that voter exists out in America, apparently. The AOC Trump voter. So I'm just mesmerized by people that split tickets. It doesn't. I could never vote for a Democrat. It's not in my ability to do so. So the other people that do, I want to talk to you. Give us a call. Let's go to the phone lines. Larry, Aurora. Good morning, Larry.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. I just thought, and I had a talk with my wife the other day, and I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that. I'm gonna hang up. But what I looked at, I looked at all the negativity and everything came down with the election, and people were putting out, who Donald Trump was or who he wasn't. And what came up on me is like people aren't going for that. And people are smarter than that. And then what ended up happening, I parallel both of them. I remember when Obama was coming up, people, he's a Muslim, he's this, he's going to destroy our country, he's going to do. And then for sure, the white voters wasn't going to go for him, but he became president. And then the same thing with Donald Trump. He's this and he's that, but he became president. So I think the politicians need to be careful. You can't manipulate the people. The people know what they want and what they don't want. So that's the parallel that, I see.
No, Larry, I think you're right. I think people walked right through everything that they were pushing, especially the media was pushing about Donald Trump, and they remember they had 4 years with him, and those were generally, with the exception of COVID, where I think he listened to progressives too much on that one. But generally, it was a fine 4 years. And so to call him all this stuff and to say he's going to destroy democracy, this is the last vote America will ever have, I just don't think people bought it.
Well, what do you think about the piece? What they say the same thing about Obama also?
Yeah. No, I think it's probably a fair critique that it just didn't materialize.
Yeah, and then so the smart piece would be, I think, for the Republicans right now, and this is my thinking, Republicans have it all. So let's look at the issue with the immigration. Now, I'm totally against everything about calling people names. That's God don't allow me to do it, and everything they're gonna kill you, all that. But really, what impacted me with that is the economy. Wait a minute now, there's people who are suffering, and there's people, and so you coming in the community, the way I look at it is like I make my home budget, and I do my budget for the whole year, from toilet paper to everything. But then all of a sudden, from a groceries and electric bill and everything, water. But in the end, so there's all of a sudden, there's 14 people coming in my house. That blows my budget.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. So but what it didn't appeal to me of trashing people. What the reality was, wait a minute, schools and everything and the hospitals and everything. So that's
running
what came for me.
Out of money. Larry, great point. Yep, it's happened in Denver. They lost $100 million on all the illegal immigrant spending. They don't have it. They're pulling from the police budget. They tried to raise money through a sales tax for affordable housing. That didn't happen. It's just a simple math problem. All right, Dr. Donald Sweeting's up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.
You gotta love Kyle Clark and his JC and
I know. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Jeez. Seriously.
How we solved that, Bill.
How?
We started our OnlyFans account.
That is true. That is exactly true. That's what we need.
That's where the money is.
Yes.
People want to see us doing stupid things.
We're going to be dancing around and then turn to the camera very slowly and say, "Hi, would you like to see my purple snake?" I got 3 snakes that are purple, so I'm not actually being kinky there.
I can't.
I know today. I have broken Jeff today.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you have tuned into a circus called the Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You're waking up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Dr. Donald Sweden is going to be joining us, the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. They're hosting Mike Pence for a lecture, lunch, and breakfast this upcoming Friday. What are they going to talk about? What does Mike Pence do now? He's not in the administration, but can he affect change? He's got a think tank going. We'll dive into all of those details. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. God bless America. Another beautiful morning out there. 36 and sunny in Denver. Expecting a high of 53 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I just want to thank everybody. You've been incredible. We worked with a lot of you to get you in. And you helped me, and you helped me too.
DJT in the swamp to meet with President Biden at the White House in the Oval Office this morning. Before his meeting with Sleepy Joe, Trump met with House GOP members.
We won the majority by 7.1 million. We won, which is great because Republicans aren't supposed to be winning the majority, Marjorie. You know that, right? And we won that, and we won it every way, all 7 swing states by a lot.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he was talking to there, among others. The nation's 45th president is set to take office as the nation's 47th president on January 20th. And I'd like to personally thank all the communists who tried to destroy the country the last 4 years. You opened the eyes of patriots around the country. Patriots who didn't even know they were patriots, like this young lady in Massachusetts who tells Democrats, including the Democratic governor, to keep stepping after she asked people to take in illegal aliens. And of course, my computer freezes. Give me 1 second.
It's here where she says, and go after the illegal aliens. We need to have them and round them up and put them in. I don't know.
Pretty close. I need some Jeopardy music. Can you do that? Thank you. Very good. Almost there, Snake Man.
That's my name on OnlyFans.
I really do think Crowley should make a poster with you guys.
Actually,
honestly.
It's Big Snake Daddy. Draw your own conclusions.
Purple,
yes.
pink, silver.
We're going to have to go talk to HR after this. Do you understand?
So we have the Chancellor of a Christian university.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The thing is that Jeff can claim plausible deniability because this is all my fault. As it usually is.
Jeff, you really took a step down.
Yeah.
We're almost there, guys. The thing is just the dial. The thing is going.
Don't you hate that the spinny thing? Because
yes, tell me about the spinny thing.
Because the little spinny thing there, it would be so much better if it actually would tell you how long it would take. Remember back in the day when that dial up, it's like downloading this file will take you 3 days, 17 hours, and 12 minutes. You're like, okay, that sucks, but at least I know.
Speaking of dial up, did you hear about the guy from AOL, the guy who did all those voices, just passed away?
You've got mail.
He did?
Yeah,
he did. You got mail, guy?
Yeah.
He was paid $200. His wife was working for the startup at the time, and they wanted some audio, so he just recorded it in his kitchen.
Yeah, and I think
Really?
was it Cleveland, and he worked behind the scenes as a cameraman and also doing graphics for a local TV station.
Yeah,
That
I
was his
remember
thing.
reading
Yeah.
about that.
And
Yeah,
only made
that's cool.
$200 off of that entire thing.
Guys, you
that is so
earned
sad.
your money. You are awesome.
Hey,
This is
thank
the
you.
Patriot in Massachusetts.
We don't have no extra room. We don't have no extra groceries. We don't have no extra money. We don't got no extra water. We ain't got no extra electric, no extra heat. Okay, we ain't got none. We ain't got none. I know you didn't just fix your lips to tell us and ask us to house these illegal immigrants that y'all have let into this country. Is y'all okay?
No, they are not.
That
Neither
is awesome
Isn't that
audio.
awesome? I
That is it. That's the election
that's
right
it.
there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that is.
4 or 5 years ago, you wouldn't have seen or heard her saying that. There's no question about that. All right, the Nostradamuses.
Am I going to worry about it? First of all, I'm not going to worry about it, Phil, because he's not going to win.
He's not going to win.
She's going to win easily.
Is hope and joy rising.
Victory is in sight in less than 3 weeks.
I think that he loses.
All right, Pete Hegseth will be the new Secretary of Defense.
And you have to reestablish that trust by putting in no-nonsense warfighters in those positions who aren't going to cater to the socially correct garbage.
Scott Jennings on CNN.
They want to have confidence in the current leadership of the Pentagon and the way the defense situation has been operating for the last several years. I mean, from the Afghanistan pullout, which was an extreme debacle for which no one was held accountable. We've had spy balloons flying over the United States. We built a $300 million pier as a public relations stunt, which wound up killing an American service member. I'd say I've had just about enough of the so-called insiders running the Defense Department. I think we ought to give Pete Hegseth a chance.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, DJT's new Department of Government Efficiency. Trump claims the two will pave the way for the administration to dismantle government bureaucracy and restructure federal agencies. Musk, who is the CEO, of course, of Tesla and the social media platform X, says this will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste. Rabbi Chaim Goldberg in Israel joined Jeff and Bill this morning to discuss Mike Huckabee, who will be the new ambassador to Israel.
Looking back historically, there's definitely been many ambassadors that were not Jewish. And, the alliance, the Judeo-Christian alliance is, thank God, is strong. I mean, there's so many shared values. We're here on the front lines of Western civilization fighting these wars against Iran and all of its proxies. And there's so much support from the Christian community in America, and Israelis know that, and they appreciate that.
DJT also announced that, let's see, we already have that one. John Ratcliffe exposed Peter Strzok in the infamous Strzok and Page Russian hoax, and he will be in charge of the CIA now. Let's see, Patriot Steve Bannon showed up for court on Tuesday and had a message for Nancy Pelosi and the tyrant AG Letitia James.
Bannon, you want to say anything?
Yeah, how did Nancy Pelosi and Tish James, thank you very much, appreciate you. How did they like getting their ass kicked on Tuesday? The American people rendered a verdict on their lawfare. You know what the American people told them to do? Go for themselves.
All right, the Avs go for 3 straight tonight as they play host to the Kings. Jeff and Bill have a guest coming up. 35 in Parker, 34 in North Glen, and 36 in Denver. And Jeff and Billy continue on this hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Quiet weather for Denver and the Front Range as we go to the second half of the week. It'll be sunny to partly sunny, cool, upper 40s to near 50. Fair tonight, upper 20s to near 30. Sunny and dry, mid to upper 50s Thursday and Friday. Nights 20s and low 30s. The weekend will be a touch cloudier. The weekend will be a touch cooler with temperatures on the lower end of the 50s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. A notable political leader coming to the state of Colorado this Friday. Colorado Christian University is hosting the former President of the United States, Mike Pence. Joining us to give us some insight on this event is the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. Great guy, great friend, Dr. Doanld Trump. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, great to be with you guys. All my dials are working this morning. How about yours?
There you go. There's one of them we had to tap dance a little bit for. So what are you hoping to achieve, and what is Vice President Pence going to be talking about when he comes to CCU?
Well, yeah, we've got lots of lecture series, but this is a new President Speaker series started by President Eric Hogue, and it's focused on political, business, art, leaders in the arts, and this is the first one with former Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen. They're going to be talking about a lot of things. They're going to be talking about pro-life, abortion, religious liberty, which were two things that he was just such a great advocate on when he was Vice President of the United States. They'll also be talking about school choice, education, and his vast experience in public service. You'll remember he was a six-time congressman, he was a governor, and then 48th Vice President of the United States. He's been a longtime friend of CCU, and this event has been long in the works.
Talking with Dr. Doanld Trump, is the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. So can people still get tickets to attend this event that's this upcoming Friday, or can they watch it online?
Registration is closed, so it's filled up, which we were very grateful for. And we're also very thankful for KNUS helping to sponsor this event as well.
Any chance to be able to watch it online? Will it be streamed?
Yes, you can go online, and ccu.edu events is where you want to go.
I want to pivot now, talk a little bit about the election. You're the Chancellor of the university. I saw this come up the other day. The election, roughly, if people having a degree were the only ones that voted, Kamala Harris would have won 471 to 67. And I think that it's part of the reason why Colorado's so blue. We're one of the highest rated or highest percentage of states with a college degree. It's literally only Massachusetts and Washington, D.C. ahead of Colorado. Why do you think having a college degree tends to have somebody vote Democratic as opposed to Republican?
That's a great question, Jeff. It really depends on the college degree. So if the degree is slanted in an ideological direction and they're pumping you full of ideological information, that's what's going to come out. Historically, that's not what the university was created to do. So there are good universities that don't do that. You might recall Bill Buckley's comment that he would rather trust like the first 400 names in the phone book than a Harvard Ivy League elite, because he realized even back then that higher education can become corrupt, but not necessarily. It's supposed to teach, a love of truth, a formation of character, and a passing on of wisdom. And when it does that, it creates a whole different kind of fruit.
I remember you used to talk about the importance of Christ-centered and then character development and then competency, and colleges have lost literally all that. They got rid of truth, and now they can't really tell you what it means to be a good person. And as a result, competency is starting to fail as well. You're seeing people get these degrees, and they're not necessarily workforce ready. Can you talk about how colleges broke down systemically?
Yeah, well, you're right. The traditional model of higher education was competence, character, and it was in the United States and in the Western world, Christ-centered faith. And a long time ago, they took the God part out, and then it was just character and competence. Then, about 20, 30 years ago, they said, we can't agree what a character is, so they dropped that out. And it was just down to competence. And then with all the DEI stuff, they attacked the whole notion of excellence and anything being great as being oppressive and white and all that kind of thing. So how do you have a university when you can't have values like that? So we've just really embraced an old traditional model that is full of life, and it still works.
So tell folks about Colorado Christian University. Is it just for 18 to 22-year-olds? Are there adult options if they wanted to be involved with CCU? How can they begin?
Yeah, there are three really tracks. We have the traditional residential track for college, high school grads. We have about 1,500 on this beautiful campus in Lakewood, Colorado. Then we have a really robust online program with about 8,500 in that. And it's for the non-traditional learner. You didn't go to college, or you want to get some training. You want to go to college, but it's late. Or you want to pursue a master's degree or a PhD, you can do that in the online program. And then we have a high school academy that is online as well. We have about 5,000 students in that. So if you're homeschooling and you want to take courses that'll get college credit, or if you're in high school and you want more challenging courses from a Christian point of view, that's what we do.
Talking with Dr. Doanld Sweeney, he's the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. They're hosting Mike Pence and Karen Pence this upcoming Friday. Tickets are sold out, but you can watch online if you go to ccu.edu/events, ccu.edu/events. As we wrap here, Chancellor Sweeney, give folks a sense of the activities that are happening this Friday and what they can expect to watch online. Will it be a speech? Will it be an interview? Breakfast, lunch, what is all going to be online for people to be able to watch?
Yeah, it's going to be lecture events and lunch events where they're going to be speaking. Some of it's going to be question and answer. Some of it's going to be lecture. But we'd love to have you be a part of it. So please check out the link online.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see. Trump is heading into the White House. He's going in without Mike Pence, but Mike is still very active in his own think tank. So he's still active in politics out there, shaping particularly a lot of social conservative issues. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say on the future of the Republican party, the future of the conservative movement, and how social conservatives can still be involved with it. Absolutely. Chancellor Dr. Doanld Sweeney, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Great to be with you guys. Thanks.
Have a good day.
KNUS will be out there on Friday.
Yes,
so
yes,
we
will.
Doing a live broadcast from there.
Sad we can't get tickets for extra people, though. But it's okay.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be there, though.
You can watch online.
Yeah.
So, and the weather may not be great on Friday either.
No.
So
which means
you can stay warm.
Yeah, which means they're probably putting us outside.
Actually, it says warm and dry 62. Well, I feel like weather changes all the day. And I can't look at weather in Elizabeth because it's like, dude, we live in an entirely different state sometimes out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Like
Tell me.
we will wake up and we have 6 inches of snow on the ground. And I'm like, oh man, school's going to be delayed today. No delay. I drive into Douglas County and there's no snow.
Yeah, dry roads. Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what in the world? So I would think I was probably looking at our weather going, Friday looks a little bad. Now I'm looking at Denver weather and it's 62 warm and dry.
Here's the hardest part about this time of the year. There's this moment in fall and this moment in spring that all Coloradans will understand. It's the fact that you can't look out the window and figure out what you should wear. Because you can look out the window this time of year and it could look like it's going to be 70 or it could be 22. It could still be sunny and blue skies and no snow on the ground. And it could suck. You could walk outside and go, oh, jeez, we're going to go back inside and get the coat. How many times have you done that? It happens in the fall, happens in the spring here in Colorado. You can't look out the window and figure out what you're supposed to wear. Well, that's difficult.
You know what you do want to have when you head outside, regardless of the weather, is that full head of hair. Ooh, and our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration are providing it for you. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills, lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pulse, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Mike Pence is going to be at CCU on Friday.
But no one's coming to see us. That's fine. That's good. But you can watch us online. What we are now, the thing is, we're not going to be streaming. Got to let everybody know. We're not going to be streaming out there that day. It's too much of a heavy lift to bring the equipment out there, to set it up, to do everything, and also it's just us sitting there. There's not going to be a crowd, not a ton of really good visual interaction. So that's a day in which you're going to be spared from seeing Jeff and I in person. So that's good. That'll be nice. Just know that it's not going to be streaming on Friday. Yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines. Nick, Denver. Good morning, Nick. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Thanks for taking my call, and I will follow your suggestion and see if I can get some real hair on my bald pate. I'm sick and tired of my expensive wigs blown away in the wind and people making fun of me.
Dude,
You got to check out Advanced Hair.
Yeah, that and all the hats you have to invest in. That's the other bad part, man.
But on a more serious note, I think the most important issue facing this country is our out of control debt, because it affects everything. And unless you change the process on how budgets are put together, you're really not going to get any meaningful reform. In the real world, I don't care what kind of business you're in or running, you borrow money or you have the money, you spend money on something, but you're always looking for a return. Is that money actually working to make this a more efficient business? In government, it's the exact opposite. So until you inject some discipline into the whole budget process, not much is going to change.
No, you're not wrong about that. There's no incentive. It's not their money. So who cares if it gets lost?
They're spending other people's money. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another thing, Nick, that I think is broken inside of our government system as far as the budgetary requirements. And this is just flat out universal. This goes all the way through the military, all the way to the other side on education. And every single department has to play by this rule. And this perfectly outlines your issue about how the government's budget is 180 degrees backwards from how an average person, family, or business has to run their life. Here's the example. If you don't spend all the money in your budget is reduced by that much next year. So
That's exactly right.
So you have this race at the end of the year. And this is again, goes from defense all the way over the spectrum, every single office, all the way down to education, that if they don't spend the money they were allocated, they get less money next year. So rather than, I don't know, like Nick's household, Jeff's household, my household, our listeners' households, where if we are able to spend less than what we have budgeted, that is a surplus we carry into the next year, and then it's an advantage for us. They never look at it that way. They take the money away rather than even rewarding the department, the school, the military branch, saying, look, you saved that. Great. We will push that into the next year. Now we can actually lower your funding by X percentage because you still stay whole. Instead, they come back and punish you for not excess spending. That is phenomenally stupid. And as your point, Nick, and we think somehow with this type of a program, government is going to come to the table and spend more intelligently. It'll never happen. You're right.
You have to change the rules. And you're absolutely right. There's always the federal budget ends October 1 or September 30th. And the last 30 days, you can see this mad rush to spend the money. Otherwise, within the next 30 days, otherwise, you don't get it the next time around. I mean, there was just a story out where Northrop Corporation, or one of these big defense contractors, was billing the Defense Department, i.e. you and me, the taxpayers, something like $200 for paper plates.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything about it.
Yeah, over and over and over again, because they have to, because they're worried that they may need that money next year. So they have to spend in excess of what they actually need just in order to preserve budget. That's stupid. None of us could run our life, our businesses, or anything that way. Yeah.
And now we're in a situation where the federal budget is $6 trillion.
Yeah.
And we're spending almost $1 trillion just on interest. Is that insanity?
Oh, here, let me make this even more insane for you, Nick and Jeff and our listeners. This is the crazy part about that. So you're talking, yes, we're spending more than $1 trillion on the interest on the debt. Now we know a significant amount of that money is going to China. Now, here's the fun part.
Yes, it is.
Here's the fun part that is really going to twist our knickers this morning. China takes the giant check of American dollars that we send them, and then they subsidize their own companies to undercut us in the international market to take more money and to hurt American businesses. So we are giving them the leverage to screw American businesses because America, it's ridiculous.
And I hope Trump, who has some business sense, is going to put a stop to that. Right now, as you well know, the Chinese are setting up all these companies in Mexico to build these electric vehicles, and they're going to try to import them into this country and completely destroy whatever industry we have left in that area.
Yeah, I think they do want their hands on the American market. Here's the crazy part, and Jeff and I were talking about this behind the scenes, that BYD, the major China EV manufacturer, does almost triple the business worldwide that Tesla does. And that's crazy. And BYD doesn't sell a single car here in America. So that's the leverage that BYD is going to have. They don't need America. They want America, but they don't need us. But you're absolutely right. That's what they're doing in Mexico. They're setting up the manufacturing because they want the Mexican and South American markets. America is going to be the cherry on top. But you're right. They're leveraging it that direction so that they can get access here. But their play is going to be, we're making more money than any of your electric manufacturers are right now, and we don't need you. So convince us that we need to come to the American market. That'll be their play.
All right. Well, thanks for your time.
Great.
Thanks, man.
Nick.
Have a great day.
Really appreciate hearing from you. You know, while the government's spending just wild amounts of money in lots of different directions that is totally useless and irrelevant, one place where you can spend money that is a great return, Balance Wellspace.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, my friend. Yes, Balance Wellspace is this incredible integrative medicine office that I have connected with. And what have they done? They've taken away my pain. I used to live my life in daily pain. That's what I saw when I was growing up, all the elderly people around me. And yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to being elderly. I got to be honest here. But I saw all those people around me complaining about stuff that hurts. So when I got older and stuff started hurting, I thought, well, this is just how you have to live. It doesn't have to be that way. I've connected with this team at Balance Wellspace, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. It's about integrative medicine. It means you get a whole bunch of different treatments all under one roof. And I've got a chance for you to go and talk to them. They have a very special event coming up, and it talks about hormone replacement. Now, here's the deal. This is coming up on Tuesday, December 3rd, 5 o'clock in the evening. Their offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. They're serving complimentary wine, cheese, crackers, and they want to talk to you about Balance Wellspace and, more importantly, about the idea of hormone replacement. It seems weird, but here, let's talk about this. You know, as we're getting older, you start wanting that afternoon nap. You start feeling, that mid-afternoon, you're like, oh, if I could only lay down. That's because your hormones have changed. It's just what happens as we get older. Your body has been making the hormones for so long, and the amount it makes and where they're going changes. You also have that fatigue where you get up the next morning and you're like, wow, I have got a full night's sleep, and I feel like I need another 8. That's the same thing. It's your hormones that are slightly out of whack. Now, they have this amazing process. They are bioidentical hormones. Had to learn how to pronounce that. Bioidentical hormones means they perfectly replicate the hormones in your body that you are losing. They do some infusions. It's just like taking an IV, and then bang, you feel amazing. I've done this 3 times, and guess what? I wasn't wanting the naps in the afternoon. I was waking up and feeling fantastic the next morning. I didn't have the fatigue. My wife one time did that thing where she looks at me, she goes, I need a moment. You're a little much right now. Can you just back off a bit? Because I was just running 1,000 miles an hour. Now, it's not going to do that to you. That's what's wrong in my head. But I have undergone this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy several times, and it is simply remarkable. But you get a chance to go and talk to the team at Balance Wellspace December 3rd, 5 p.m. It's a Tuesday, and they're going to have some representatives there. You'll also get to talk to everybody else about what the facility and what they can do for you. Talk to Dr. Jess, Dr. Julie, everyone. So reach out to Balance Wellspace, balancewellspace.com. Space is limited. Reserve your slot for that beautiful wine, cheese, the crackers, December 3rd, 5 p.m. Talk to them about bioidentical hormone replacement, how you can again feel like you are in your teens and your 20s. That's what it did for me. It's amazing. Very, very simple. It's just like getting an IV and takes you less than 10 minutes. Sit down, talk with them, check it out, make your reservation today. Balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com, and tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out as well.
Great to hear that, Bill. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So I'm watching right now images. Donald Trump meeting with Joe Biden in the White House. Wow. It looks pretty amicable.
Yeah.
Like they're getting along pretty well, but what do you think that meeting's like behind closed doors?
It's gonna be weird.
Now, there's all this stuff floating on conservative X right now that Kamala and Joe just not getting along.
Yeah,
and you saw Peter Doocy ask that question: how icy is the relationship? Because Kamala led essentially the effort to kick Joe Biden out, and then she loses.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you think it's icy?
My guess would be at this point, yeah, it probably is fairly icy. And I think I would guess for several layers. One, Joe still felt at the time that he could do this. I mean, the reporting that we have is rather than a coup while there was pressure that around the COVID time as he's recovering, he kind of had that. And the story, again, if you believe the reporting, the story is that while Trump was out doing more rallies, and Biden was at home with COVID, he kind of went, maybe I can't. And he had the first questions. And the story goes that he walks down the morning after having these thoughts at night and turning to one of the people on his staff and saying, okay, if I'm going to do this, what do I say? And that was the conversation. But I'm sure he has a lot of pent up frustration for it. And I'm certain that Harris has a lot of pent up frustration too on a number of levels. One, why didn't you move out of the way earlier so that we might have been able to get some of these things, buttoned down? Some of the idea of it looks like the voter outreach that was so vaunted by the Democrats didn't actually work out, where the questionable ones with Musk and Charlie Kirk worked out in spades.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. Maybe they could have done that. But also, I think more importantly, and this is where, and again, this is my impression of it, I'm mad at Joe Biden not shutting his damn mouth sometimes. And what I mean by is, remember,
garbage.
Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. That 14-day window right before the election, when he came out and said the garbage thing, if he would have just not said anything there, I think, I'm not saying Kamala wins. I say it's closer. I think that Kamala's within, rather than 10 million votes of him is more or less what, no, I think now she's within 6 or 7 million, more 6 million, I think is on the total numbers. I think she's closer to 3. I still think she loses. I just don't think she sheds as many voters as quickly. And it might have also cut down on the enthusiasm for Trump. I think there are a number of people that were like, okay, I'm going to vote. And then heard that and goes, oh, I'm voting now for sure. Or activated people that were questionable. Like, I'm not sure I can choose this. I'm not sure I can choose this. Wait, they just said what? Okay, now I'm choosing. Now I'm going to be on that team. So I think that's where her hurt comes from. But yeah, absolutely, I think it's an icy relationship.
There's this interesting revisionism that's trying to happen with Joe Biden, because the whole reason he stuck around, he stuck in there, is because he had beaten Trump.
Yes, and he was convinced he can do it again.
We already had a guy. We don't have to go test this. This guy had already beat him in huge margins, 80 million people. And now there's this, well, he should have gotten out earlier. He should have kept his promise to be a transitional candidate. No. In January, February, March of this year, it was all, we already have a guy that won 80 million votes. We're going to keep him in there, and he's going to destroy Donald Trump again.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And not recognizing the weaknesses that were becoming self-evident. And they were becoming very self-evident. Also, Donald Trump and the Republicans had spent 2 years saying Joe Biden's too old, too infirm, and then we're going to get a guy that during the term is going to be older than Biden is now. But again, great messaging, and that really worked and resonated.
Well, somebody who I would love to see in statewide politics, maybe even shoot to the national level, because I trust him that much and he does a great job, is Dan Kaplis. And if you need him, you can hire him for your own personal injury lawsuit. Look, it matters who you hire. You hire somebody because you see them go by on a billboard. You don't really know them. They're known as ambulance chasers with a reputation in town. If you show up to court with a guy like that, it's not going to go that well. You want a guy who's known to be pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That's Dan Kaplis. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than just being a real good guy, he's a real winner. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner. Dan Caplis Law, so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. And you're probably thinking to yourself, I can't afford him. It's not true. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Look, if you need Dan's help, you don't want to be scrambling. Go ahead right now, put his phone number in your phone. So when that accident happens, you know you're on the side of the road, all the chaos, the police, you got to deal with insurance. You can call Dan and Dan Caplis Law right away. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551. Or just visit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, let's go to Louis. Aurora, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, brothers. Hey, listen, man, I just dealt with, you're talking about waste. You know, I had an issue with urinating, and I had to have catheter put in, and finally, a couple of weeks later, they gave me at the VA a self-catheter, okay? And now the Lord has healed me. I don't need any more. But the VA sent me 60 self-catheters plus a box of lubrication. I called them up. I said, I don't need this. Why was I sent this? I said, I want to send it back. They said, oh, we can't take it back. I said, what? What a waste. 60. I mean, there's 5 boxes with 12 self-catheters plus a full box of lubrication. I said, I didn't order this. You got to take it back. They said, well, we can't take it back. You know how much money that is?
I know. And Louis, you could start your OnlyFans account with that. I mean,
catheters and lubrication.
I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what to do.
That is crazy.
There's all this waste. Look, I put on the Western Conservative Summit for 8 years. We would have, because of union rules, I would have to, down at the Denver Convention Center, pay a union guy to sit there because the private company I wanted to hire to actually run the production of the event was better. So I actually paid twice for one guy to just sit there and scroll on his phones. And that was because of these union rules and regs that, you know, the city of Denver has come up with down at the convention center. It's a massive waste of money. And
yeah.
Louis, you have a great example. I bet people could text in. I would love to see those text messages. What do you see out there that's just a massive waste of money? And you're looking at it going, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're driving our country into debt in order to pay this stuff.
Right. And I mean, these catheters are good. They're not out of the box, and the lubrication, nothing is missing from, and they won't take them back.
Now that's weird. Now, Louis, think about that our government has decided that rather than paying the shipping cost to get excess supplies back into their inventory, they instead are going to write off what they sent you. Then they're going to take new inventory and again pay a shipping cost to send it out again. They are burning more money. It's ridiculous.
I'm 4 miles from the VA.
Oh my God!
I tell them I take it back. Then I have to pay for shipping.
Oh my God, that is crazy. That is maddening.
Louis and the catheters and the lubrication and the government waste.
This is the perfect way to end the show. Thank you, Louis.
This has been a wild show
today.
Man.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Well, we started off the show talking about a guy in Denver who's been fined or sued $7 million by Nintendo for playing pre-release video games.
Do not mess with Nintendo.
Patrick Brown from the Ethics and Public Policy Center joined us to discuss about how pro-life is shifting to kind of pro-family in the arguments in the public square in an effort to reduce abortions. And that found its way to OnlyFans. So that was an interesting conversation. If you missed that, we got a call directly from Israel. As Jews in Israel rejoicing over the election of Donald Trump and the appointment of Mike Huckabee to become the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. Lots of good news happening there. And then Dr. Donald Sweeting joined us to preview Mike Pence at CCU this Friday. You can watch online. Went over there. You have to register. If you go to ccu.edu/events, you'll see a little thing for the President Speaker Series. And it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about the conservative movement, Donald Trump, where this all goes, pro-life, all that stuff. I mean, Donald Trump is today at the White House. J.D. Vance is on Capitol Hill. And Mike Pence is not.
Yeah. Well,
how do you feel about that?
To be fair, last time I was on Capitol Hill,
right,
it didn't go well.
It wasn't that easy.
That didn't go
they
well.
Built in thing to hang him.
Yeah, up front. So
gallows.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So if you missed any of the conversation, go to 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. We've got Cal Thomas coming up with Charlie Kirk, Dennis Prager, Sebastian Gorka. All the analysis is happening on 710KNUS about these appointment picks and who's going into the cabinet and is it good? What do you think about Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security? Now, she was the first one to send troops to the border to support Texas when they were dealing with it overrun there. So she's the governor of a state. She's ran a state. Is she the good pick for Department of Homeland Security? What do you think, Bill?
Okay, this is the this is not nice, but I'm going to do this one just because this is the end of the show. I'm questioning her ability to do it. I'm questioning her bona fides, what she's going to actually do. However, if things, as the Democrats say, go sideways and it gets really weird and we start living in one of those dystopian type of apocalyptic America things, and we have like gangs and packs of wild dogs running the streets, I think she can keep us safe from the dogs.
That she can.
Just saying.
And the goats. And I said this as a rancher. It was actually more egregious what she did to the goat than what she did to the dog.
You're right.
Because she literally killed a goat for being a goat.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, boy goats, they just want to wrestle. They headbutt. That's what they do. The dog killed some chickens. I understand that. But
yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, so much to cover. You're not going to want to miss. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.